Yeah, we're doing a test here.
There's one damn sound about living in the center of the UK. It's the highest rate of radiation on this tiny, pitiful rock. And the fact they never tell you.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
Alright, there you go.
Okay, so let's see. Yep, exactly what I thought. All right, so hang on, everyone. Literally, I moved the camera to the new position, and it conked out for literally no reason. So we're going to try to get the... There we go. That should have worked. Okay. So you saw kind of like a weird preview image, and now we're working. So now I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up. We're going to try to properly, keyword is properly, do this with my giant forehead and crazy hair. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to the Master of Unlocking. I'm known as Sidepocket. That's what people refer to me on the internet. I know, weird name, but it's the internet. We all have weird names. I'm one of the two co-founders of DEFCON 201 or DC 201 or DCG 201, depending on how you fancy. We are a group of computer hackers, tinkerers, and technologists and activists and all sorts of crazy stuff. Basically, think of 90s internet gone real as the instant reward pops up here. And we meet normally once a month in Jersey City, New Jersey. Jersey City, New Jersey. Man, it's going to be one of those episodes where I can't speak, can I? That's where I have Hydrate Squad. Note, this episode's not sponsored by Arizona. That's just what I'm drinking at the time to stay awake. Although probably at the end of this, I'm going to wish this was liquor. So, we actually had our meeting 2 days ago on Friday, on February 19th. Unfortunately, because of everything went wrong that week, so we couldn't really get out there. But it was a really fun meeting. We had a lot of good stuff. You can go to our YouTube, which you can search DEFCON 201 or DC 201. Probably DEFCON 201. I believe ours is youtube.com/c/DEFCON 201. You can find all the stuff there. If you want to know more about us and everything, you can go to our website, which you can see below at defcon21.org. We're also on all sorts of social media, and I'm actually going to post these links in here, such as we're on Instagram. We're on the Insta of Grams. We are on the hoststucks.social instance of Mastodon. We are on the Twitters at DEFCON 201 DEFCON 201NJ, and a bunch of other things, including GitHub and stuff. And if you want to go to those, you can either go to our website or you can go to this link tree that I'm going to post in chat, and you're going to see everything there. So let's get on with the show. I just want to also let everyone know something. We've been having issues with the restream chat where I cannot see who is watching. So normally, I still do, I don't mind people lurking to watch and learn. As I always say, keep lurking, keep learning. However, if you have any questions or if you want to say something where you're not being a giant D-bag or anything, please say something in chat, because basically for the past couple days, we've had episodes where there have been like, 20, 60, 100 viewers, and we constantly, for the past couple of streams, have only seen 0 viewers. And we know that 0 viewers are not watching this. This is a problem with the restream chat. I think it's a bug on their side. We're trying to address it. Regardless, If you have something to say, I love talking with chat. In fact, this is going to be very much of a hangout sort of chat thing tonight. I do 2 shows. One is because in addition to the meeting, we do a bunch of different shows, as well as our co-founder GI Jack and Commander and eventually Surcell and a bunch of other people. I do 2 shows. One of them is Crypto Barons, which is going to happen this upcoming Saturday, but we'll get to that when we get to that. The other, as I then rehydrate here, you're going to see me do this a lot, because I am dry everything, is the Master of Unlocking, which is this show. So what is Master of Unlocking? Master of Unlocking is where we do lock sport stuff. I show off physical security things, mainly locking mechanisms such as padlocks, doorknobs, electronic locks, deadbolts, things like that. And we learn the security flaws, or we try to find the security flaws of these things, and we pick them apart. We dissect them, we single pin pick them, we rake, we bypass, we do whatever we can to get through things. And despite the title of the show being Master of Unlocking, I'm just a giant Resident Evil fan. That's why it's called that. I'm not considered a master, especially among the Tool organization, which I am a part of, but doesn't represent this show. So that's just a fun title. I do teach at Tool events, and I also teach at when we had our events locally, but because everyone can't stop licking each other's buttholes while there's a giant plague going on for the past literally year, it's going to be a year, we've been live streaming this stuff. And so not only does this allow me to continue to build my lockpicking training kit and for me to learn stuff and for you to learn stuff, but we also learn together, even though I'm often in the instructor role. So that's what this show basically is. Even though this show is not sponsored or promoted by Tool, there is 2 rules that Tool does that we always do every episode. This is known as the spiel, that I follow regardless if you're a Tool member or not, regardless if I'm a Tool member or not, or anything. And here's how it goes. So 2 rules you're going to have to learn before we go on this program, whether you're watching this in the future and this is a recording, or you're watching this live, or any future episodes. It's always the same. So the first thing is, do not pick locks that you rely on. If after this or past episodes or future episodes you go around and you're like, oh, I got the tools for this, I want to try practicing. So instead of going out and getting your own locks, you go, okay, I'm going to try the lock I use for my gym, or the locks that I have on my window, or my front door lock. You'd be shocked at how many times people want to, when I teach them how to pick, immediately want to try their front door. And that's a bad idea for multiple reasons. And again, it all centers on you rely on that lock. You will wear that lock down. That means it's also easier to pick and bypass, not just for you or for others. You will also eventually break that lock by picking it, because that happens. And you know those expensive tools that you spent money on? Those will eventually break, and that's an easy way to break them. So nothing's worse than breaking your front door lock while also breaking your tools, and then you're all mad. The second rule is that do not pick locks that you don't own, and that's going to be the key for this episode. Hi, ONDB. So it said, should I pick lock the hot blonde neighbor one? Funny you should say that, because we're going to get to that in a moment, okay? Because there's a funny story behind this, but let's get through this. Thank you, Zero NDB, for saying that again. I have no idea who's watching right now, so there could be 1 viewer, there could be 8,000 viewers, so just let me know. Decidemo says, I was getting ready to go to my first Tool meeting ever. When life was net. Same. I was so excited for the next meeting, because I both go to Tool NYC and Tool NJ, and then bah. But let's continue on with the spiel. So again, after you learn these techniques, whether I screw up or not, and you're walking around, you're like, that is master lock number, blah, blah, blah. I happen to have blah, blah, blah tool. I'm going to... No. That's on someone else's property. You're automatically going to be trespassing by going on that property. They own that lock. So you going to there, trespassing, that's illegal. You're going to be seen shady as fuck. And basically, this is not only to cover your ass legally in both these rules, but my ass legally. So that's just a bad idea. All the locks that you see on this show, from now, in the past, or forever, are locks that I personally own or have gone possession of, or in this case, people have donated to me. And they're also locks that I don't rely on. I don't lock anything with these. These are not on our doors. These are not on our windows. These are not installed in our chest. These are literally locks that are just there to be abused and picked and gutted and bypassed and all sorts of bad Frankenstein shenanigans for education or education purposes. So that's what it is. So reiterate, do not pick locks that we rely on, and do not pick locks that you don't own. And lastly, before we dip down, because I forgot this part, if you like the content that you see today, as well as you're excited for next month's meeting, which is also going to be on the 19th, but it's going to be March 19th, and that's going to be our 4-year anniversary. We've been around for 4 fucking years doing this shit. So even before the live streams, this stuff was crazy. And we're going to have so much fun for that. It's going to be really relaxed, and we're going to be partying. It's going to be honest to God great, provided that the meteorite finally doesn't hit us, named Ted Cruz. And or you want to know some of the other shows, like I know Archvile Linux Perspective is coming up on this Thursday, where G.I. Jack's going to go over video games and cool advanced Linux stuff, particularly in the Arch Linux environment with Pac-Man and System D. I think he's going to do War of Warcraft this week, but we'll see about that. And we're going to switch over to Commander might be streaming this Wednesday, but we're going to have potpourris on Wednesday. So regardless, if you want to get updates to our content, when they're coming out, all that stuff, in addition to follow social media, you can click that bell, like, share, and subscribe on Twitch, D Live, or YouTube. We've been having weird issues with Facebook where it's not streaming out. I'm going to correct those because most of yesterday I was just sleeping. We finally got the heat back, hence why I'm not wearing the Tim Pool hoodie and everything. So I was just sleeping, and now I'm awake for this. So again, if you like that, you can like, share, subscribe. Helps us, especially if you're on D Live, because on D Live, if we hit 100 followers, our account finally gets to be a crypto superstar, and we can do a lot more with the D Live account, especially for the Crypto Baron show that I do. So just putting that out there. So what are we doing on today's episode? Well, let's do the tilt down and find out. I have no idea how long or short this episode's going to be, mind you. So let me just figure this out here, because I don't want the cord to disconnect again. There we go. That's as good as it's going to get. Yeah, by the way, I've also been we have a McDonald's near us, so yeah, everyone who's been worried about where do I find the Pokemon cards? I shit you not, go out to New Jersey. New Jersey has population centers where people actually live, but not enough people to give a crap about this. So that's why it's very great and easy to find. Let's tilt this up a little bit. Collectibles in New Jersey. So they literally just have tons of these Pokemon cards. So I know in New York right now, you can't find them anywhere, and you have to go to eBay and pay $1 billion for this Oshawott card. They literally just have them sitting in bins in New Jersey. So I just thought this would be a funny thing to show off here. So anyhow, what are we getting into? Well, we're going to be getting into, let's remove the remote here, this blue bag. What's in this blue bag? Well, funny you should ask, and I'm actually going to sit down and we're going to briefly go to the web browser portion and face portion of the show as I tilt the camera up in between the transition. And I'm going to basically try to politely dox my friends as best as I can. So this is, by the way, our website. It's really freaking awesome. If you go to defcon21.org, it's all there. But here's what I kind of want to go off on. Also, by the way, if you like, follow, share, subscribe with us, I get notifications for those. So they'll pop down, I'll cheer you on. And I remember names better when people follow. So what's going on here? Well, let me just make sure that we're still streaming here. Or something with lag happened. Did we? No, we're still streaming. It's just... Oh, the freaking... I hate this. Alright. Sorry about this. Camera just screwed up again. Hang on. I have no idea why this keeps happening. I think it's honestly a faulty USB on here, which honestly makes me really nervous. There we go. Because we only have 2 USBs on this machine. So it's just kind of like, I hope this is not a recurring problem and that USB is dying out, because it's going to be a real dick to try to repair it on this machine. Anyhow, why are we looking at the browser mode? Well, let me give you some backstory here. So, you probably have seen the title of this episode, and yes, I made it that dumb, stupid, pervy, funny on purpose. And the next part's going to be tricky because I don't have the mature content filter turned on, or at least I don't think I have the mature content filter turned on. So I'm going to try to do this as best as I can with Facebook, we're not on Facebook, but Twitch's and YouTube's, TOS, Metallica canceling of Metallica, DMCA type terms. And that is, so the place that we're in right now, I found out because of our neighbors. They moved out roughly a year ago but not far. They literally moved down the street from us. No, I'm not doxing where we are. They moved down the street from us. And so, I've known them, I know particularly one of them for like over almost 10 years now. So we still keep in touch, and they visit here and we visit there. And during COVID, we can't wait till we get the vaccinations. I'm actually going to check all that stuff out tomorrow. So I might get vaccinated tomorrow, so cross your fingers. And, we wear masks, and occasionally, like sometimes my ex-neighbor's mail still comes to this place, or they might have a cool thing for us, so they want to drop something off here, and we go visit each other's places for like a minute or three, just like good friends. And, we stay 6 feet apart and all of that. So I just want to give you context of who my neighbors are, because this is DEFCON 201. So you notice how crazy it is here? First of all, DEFCON 201 it's not just a group meeting. Most of the people involved either live next to each other or we all live together. Like the two co-founders, myself, Sidepocket, and G.I. Jack, who's not here right now. He's doing important work. And Cyricel, who does all the behind-the-scenes stuff. You might have seen him pop up and do some absolute god-tier wizard shit. We all live in the same household. So this floor is just the dark net. It's just everyone running the entire dark net. It's just this floor, right? That's what we always joke about. So the floor below us, so it was all dudes, by the way. And Commander lives somewhere near us, and we hope for him the best because he's literally running around in circles on fire. The floor below us, aka our ex-neighbors, and the people who moved down the street from us, are all like crazy women in the most awesome way. And so I want to introduce you to, now, there has been people who moved out, moved in, but in this situation, I want everyone to know who our neighbors are, who our ex-neighbors are, so that you get context to a little bit of what just happened here. And we'll get into these locks, and then it's going to be more of me trying to stupidly figure shit out. I might have to grab the WD-40 at one point and us chatting. So there's two people. One of them lives with their boyfriend, and then there's also a person who now lives in the basement, who I think is like a troll or something that nobody knows. But let me just point out who our neighbors are, and hopefully the stream doesn't die. So here there are two ex-neighbors that live down the street from us. The first one is an awesome, long time, this is the person I've known for over 10 years, named Lydia Vengeance. You can go check them out. I'm going to post, this is where I get to skirt around stuff. I'm going to copy the link here, and I'm going to post this if the machine allows me in chat. And of course, because it is goddamn Instagram, because these are not the most, I mean, they're smart, they use computers, but they're not the most technical people out there. Let's put it that way. So instead, I'm going to have to actually copy the text here. I'm just going to share the links because I don't think there's any like real problems with sharing the links on here. And so basically put this way, our ex-neighbors, who also used to be our neighbors, are all burlesque performers, strippers, BDMX people, sewers. They're all crazy. And so this is Lydia. Lydia is the main person in the household. She's the one who sits, I mean, they're both accomplished, but she gets stuff done. In addition to all of those things, she is a seamstress. So she has a website called Vengeance Designs, where she makes cosplay outfits and latex outfits for various people, and you can actually contract that here. Don't worry, we are going to get into locks, so don't just float away here. I just want to give context to everybody of why the hell. Okay, there we go. That worked now. I'm actually going to resend her link tree again, just because apparently that did not reach out to Twitch. So yeah, so she makes all of that, and in addition to that, she's also an accomplished singer. So I'm going to scroll down, and hopefully I won't get flagged for this. This is her with a cat, and we're going to just watch a fun, quick thing here, just to show you all what I mean. Let's turn the desktop audio back on.
Ash. Let me know if
See, this is how I know my neighbor, because this is like, so it did reconnect. So yeah, this is a problem because, again, normally I would have preloaded a video from her, but this is Instagram, so I can't really do proper rips. But that's one of the neighbors. The second neighbor, who's actually even more important when it comes to the story, she has different names. Sometimes she's known as Enshara. Sometimes she's known as Vexy. Here comes our co-founder, G.I. Jack, coming in like a giant thwomp. Or G, you're going to your room?
Yeah.
All right. Go. And I'm just happy you didn't run to the table again. Please close the door. Thank you. And she's very similar, except her specialty is like belly dancing, fire dancing. Our DEFCON 201 member, Neo, is very fond of her. And again, both of these women, both I'm going to call her Vexy because that's her other main stage name that I remember, as well as Lydia, both live together, right? And that is pretty much the two people that you should know. Oh, and real quick, if you want to check out Vexy's sort of link and everything, I'm going to put that in chat. So now we're going to go back to the face cam again, to the locks, because so why do we need to know about these two people here and about their situation? As once again, the goddamn stream freezes on the other TV. There we go. Well, and again, this is like all context. So here's eventually what happened. So Vexy, as Jack says, good evening. It's way past evening. It's 8:39 Eastern Standard Time. So what happened was Vexy was out somewhere. I think it was like out of Walgreens or something, some convenience store. And then she realized that her wallet went missing. And basically, no one pickpocketed her. She just lost it. But there was a major problem here. Remember, not only are these, and we hate pointing this out because it really shouldn't matter, but this is an actual demographic, right? So not only, again, most women, mainly in the household, besides Lydia's boyfriend. Thank you. This is my crazy hair. I tried combing out and stuff. Eventually, we're gonna get to the desk and the locks. But so mostly women who live in this household, and also sex workers, essentially, for the most part, right? Again, Lydia has her clothing business, and Vexy has, burlesque and like more stage performance. But again, and this is very important here. So, oh, you have an afro too? Or sad afro in my case? That's pretty awesome. This is an optical illusion. I have so many bald spots, you have no idea. But here we go. So, again, mostly women and sex workers, right, that live in this household. Her wallet contained, this is pretty much all it contained, right? The keys to all the doors. So the keys to the front door and keys to the basement that you can access from the outside. And, I've been having this forever, not bringing anything back. But the other thing is her ID, which she's recently reissued, which it's not even someone can impersonate me that's concerning. It's that your ID, your state ID, right, has exactly where you live on it, has your exact address. This is actually one of the reasons why I like, and here's a piece of advice, if you want to travel places or go to bars, it's more expensive, it's going to be like $80 to $100, but it'll be worth it. Go get a U.S. passport. Get both the book and the card, and take the card with you most of the time. Not only does the passport card work under all IDs, whether you're at a bar or whatever, government-issued ID will work. But it has less information about you on the card. So it will, for example, it will say, like, for me, it will say, oh, it's Jersey City, New Jersey, but it won't give the exact address where I live, right? Most people can't scan it. Like the police, when they get it, they have to basically call in or ask like the FBI to process the info. And those like bar scanners don't work, which is an easy way you can get snail mail and what is that called? Junk mail and a bunch of other things, thanks, and like doxing emails because of that shit. So my advice, which I also told them, take your passport card with you. It's also more of a serious endeavor. If it gets lost, it's easier to cancel and everything. But regardless, so let's put this in perspective. You have a household entirely of women. Which again, normally that wouldn't be a problem, but again, women get targeted a lot more. Like this would already be bad if this was a bunch of dudes like us. This is going to be even worse. And they're sex workers, which is an underprivileged class, unfortunately, of working people in America. And now someone potentially has their address and the keys that access their entire building. So naturally, and this actually happened during, I think, one of Jack's live streams or something, the reason why I was MIA is because I was on the phone with them, because they contacted me, like, screaming. You know, it's not a I would be screaming too. I would just be lighting shit on fire and everything if this happened, right? And again, they weren't stupid. It wasn't, this is just something that happens. And basically they were like, okay, like, what can we do? And I actually, in addition, called up my mentor, Night Owl, to discuss all of this. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time because I did take a picture of what the original locks looked like on the door. But essentially, the thing was they had classic locks, meaning just like literal mechanical locks. They were not Schlage resets, or way more common now, quick set smart keys. Because otherwise, I would just have taken the reset tool, would have cloned like a new key, and we would have, which what they were going to do on this show, you know, you put the old key, you move it, hold it 90 degrees, put the insert thing in, they take that key out, put the new one in, turn it back, remove the thing, and it's resetted. Which means I had to replace the doorknobs. So, because this was in the middle, this was on the cusp of one of the 3 blizzards that hit us, never mind like what Texas and stuff was going through. I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We have one doorknob here that we don't need anymore. We have one door lock, right? That works as an outside door. It's not a home door, because that's another difference that a lot of people shop around. There are what are called outside doors, or basically utility door knobs and locks. There are what are called home locks and bathroom locks. And the home locks and the bathroom locks might as well be the same category. Those are locks where essentially there's no keys on them. You can just lock them from the inside, but they usually have a thing where you can use like a butter knife or something to easily unlock it from the outside. It's just for like privacy for the people living there. It's not designed for real security. The locks with the keys that goes like on the outside of your doors and shit, that's the locks that we're looking for here. So we had one that we could use. I went over, undid the original bottom one, put that one in, because even though, thank you, oh God, I'm going to try to read this. Husanamitin Isimic? Husamin Isaminid Maleka Hi, Maleka Heini Ho. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but thank you for following us on DLive. We are now roughly 15 followers away from getting Crypto Superstar, which means I could do more here. And trust me, we're going to get into locks in a moment, like the physical locks. But I just want to finish the story. So I, so I replaced the bottom lock. And that is because even though they had the key, both locks were keyed to the same key. So even though they could open the bolt at the top, the new one, the key, they might even have, again, the one we did might be like a Schlage, which I think it might have been. No, it's not. But even if it was, it might be the wrong key. And even if it's the right key type, like a quickset or a Schlage, completely different bitting. That's going to throw them off. And I'm like, okay, so in a day or so, we will then go get new locks, and I'll put new locks in. Right? And then we had the blizzard happen. So literally, I think it was 3 days later, it finally cleared up enough where we went out to Home Depot and I got 2 new sets of locks. One was a bolt and a doorknob for their front door, and another is a new lock for their side door. And again, I'm not going to divulge into details of what they are and stuff, because again, if someone finds out where they are, I don't want to dox how their locks work, because, you know, all of that. It's the same reason why good luck trying to home invade us if you find out where we are, because not only there's crazy stuff that we have done for these locks that we're not going to disclose, but if you get through that, you're also going to have to deal with a bunch of angry hackers with all sorts of terrible weapons we can torture you with, like, I don't know, like baseball bats, grenades, D-Link servers, forcing you to use Emacs, things like that. So, like, good luck. But I went in and I replaced all their doorknobs. And so afterwards, I talked with them, because, you know, they know that I do this show, and that previously, that's why they called me. We've helped them out with locks before. And there was also a partial ethics thing where, you know, and that's what we did. Like, I would have preferred to bring over my mentor and have them to deal with it, because I know locksmiths. I want them to make money. The problem with that is that all of locksmith licensing is state by state, and sometimes it's even county by county. So because Night Owl is, and I don't think this is doxing because he says this, I think, in his Twitter, he's in New York. His license only works in New York. He can't come to New Jersey or frickin' Connecticut, even though I don't know why you want to go to Connecticut, and work on locks. And that was one of the reasons why he was like, hey, if you need to, I will help with tools. You can come over, pick them up, bring them over to you, and then it's like I plead the fifth, and then I can do stuff, right? But thankfully, we didn't need that. It was normal screwdriver and everything, and replaced lots. I actually might have to ask for the screwdriver later because we might dismantle some of these. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go through this giant blue heavy bag here. And what I talked to them about was I got to keep all the old locks. So we're going to take a look at these old locks. Because again, now I own them, and we're not going to use them for any door stuff as far as I'm aware. Even if we did, I would take them apart, repin them, and then put them back together so that way it wouldn't be, that would be like an absolute emergency. But these will forever go in my kit when everything opens back up and we're able to, like, you know, interact, because we're all vaccinated and not like dipping our balls in like the different the different salad dressings at this public salad bar and shit like that. You will see these locks there, so you can actually practice on real door locks. And then while I'm doing that, as I try to tackle these, I'm gonna talk about the sad part is I really wish I had pictures and video of this. I'm also having issues with my phone with memory. I'm going to resolve that when Saracel comes back, because he's the linchpin of trying to get all this to work. Not because I'm like low technically skilled. It's there are other obstacles I'm not going to go into in the way of me like trying to convert stuff on the phone so I have more space. Because I would love to show you pictures of these. Maybe in a future episode I will go back and take new pictures of like what the door looks like and stuff. Not the locks, but like the door, so you know what I'm talking about. But I will talk about. Thank you for sending that lemon. Or lemons, because it doesn't tell me how much for all of this. So yeah, I'm going to tilt the camera down, and we're going to get right into this. Also to note, thank you also for the lemons, because on my other show, on Crypto Barons, I usually put in lemons. I might be able to put some more in this week or whatever, but when people watch that show, and sometimes with our mean meetings, but mainly on Crypto Barons, we give lemons away. Not on this show, but on Crypto Barons. So thank you for that, lemons, and I got another one. Thank you so much for that. You are the MVP of DLive right now. Hasami Semitic. Again, actually, can you do me a favor, if you can? Can you phonetically type how to pronounce your name, like with hyphens and stuff? Because I don't want to screw up anyone's names. Unless you want me to give you a nickname. Like, if I can call you Tim, I'll call you Tim for the rest of the chat. But, you know, I don't want to screw up anyone's names and stuff. And I just want to check one quick thing up here, just to figure this thing out. Okay, I'll have to look at that later. So, let's look at the bits of this. So, I'm going to stand up for this because I'm going to have to plop a bunch of things on here. So, as far as I know, let's find this. This was the replacement doorknob. Now we might door lock. Now we might get into that, and you're probably noticing that that's not a doorknob. And actually, the sad part is that most of these are not going to be doorknobs. She actually threw away the original bottom doorknob, I think, or I forgot to grab it. But that was the original thing, and I warned, hey, you're going to have like a sort of like handle lock on the outside of it in the meantime until we get something new. So I'm actually going to put this one aside, and we might deal with that one at the end. We'll find out. But let's put in here some of the stuff that was had. So if I remember correctly, this guy was the original outside basement door, which was less of a security concern, simply because, I'm going to try to find which core was what in here. I believe, let's see here. I actually think it was this core, because the basement had like a couple of objects, but nothing like too significant. And that because of that, if I can find the right thing here, because of that, And the basement is like mostly separated from the main building. So unfortunately, I can't find the backing on this for now. But yeah, that was. Here's the backing. So this was the entire set, and I'll show later on, because originally I was going to put this on a door, but I'll show later on how you kind of put this stuff together. I also have the original screws and stuff. This was the basement. The basement was separate and only had a few items in it, and that mainly went to the basement of where the other guy was, who doesn't like live there. He uses it as a storage space for like a couple of minor objects. So that was the least security concern. The big security concern was the actual. It's actually this one here. Was the actual bottom lock, which unfortunately I don't have right now. I might ask for that later. But what I do have that we're also going to look at, and this will kind of give you a hint, is the deadbolt, because I will. Spoiler alert, most of the frustration I had when installing this, besides how cold everything was the frickin' deadbolt. The deadbolt drove me completely mental. Like to an absurd, like absolutely absurd degree. Figuring out which one here. I think it was this guy. Yeah, it was this one. To an absolutely absurd degree. And let's see, I'll just find like two generic... and the other fun thing is this slightly magnetic screwdriver that, if you remember from the last episode we did, I got from all of the electrical locks. And so I'm going to put these screws, actually not these screws, I believe it is these screws here, because these will be important later. In fact, I'm going to put both, because there's a whole... I have a whole thing behind this. You're also going to see how dirty my hands get. Because, you know, lock sport is a very dirty subject, to the point where I'm actually going to very lightly hide the Pokemon cards in the meantime, just because I don't want them to get completely dirty, and that will free up some space. And I just want to get like a tissue here, because my nose is driving me freaking bonkers. Oh, man. You should like, share, and subscribe to hope that my nose doesn't fall off during this episode. Maybe there's like an allergen in the lock itself. I know a lot of these are greasy and old. I have to tell you. And the last thing I'm actually going to put on here, if I remember where the hell it's been floating around on. Hang on, it actually might be back here in a back pocket somewhere, not a side pocket. Hang on. I'll be right back. I'm not going to put any music on. I'm just going to get these, because I'm probably going to put them later. So give it a moment. There we go. Two important things. The little hand, I use this is a cool contraption that was given, actually lent to me by G.I. Jack, that our co-founder, that I use to exercise and straighten my hands, but it's also a great stress reliever. You've probably seen it on the stream before. And probably the most important thing that now are more in stock are wet wipes, which I also have with me on the day, because again, I don't want to touch all this grease and stuff and then poke my eyes and eat food and get contaminated with like a new bad variant version of like COVID-19, but for doorknobs, which I'm pretty sure is coming. So, before we go into these, I'm going to quickly talk about how everything's kind of put together. So, again, I was originally going to actually install these in one of the inside doors here, so you could see it. But if you want to know what that kind of looks like, a couple of episodes ago, we tried installing this weird master lock doorknob, where I actually did install it in one of the doors in here temporarily. So you can go look at that to kind of see how a doorknob is put together. But I'm just going to kind of quickly go over here. So the general gist of this, and let's use this guy, is that you have three pieces here. You have sort of the, and I'm going to fuck up terms here, so I'm just using descriptions. You have this outside piece, and by the way, I don't have the keys for any of these, so I don't know if I'm going to get any of these open. We're going to find out. I think this is a quick set in terms of the door handle, to be honest. And super wide keyway, if you haven't noticed. There's no paracentric C, so I actually don't have any hope for this having any sort of having any security pins in it. I don't think any of them are going to have it. But anyhow, you have this outside piece, and this is what you would again present the outside of the door. So wherever the outside access is the part you want to keep access out, but you want to permit certain people who have the keys or the means to exit in and out. This is, I know this sounds obvious, but we do have to go through this. This is the part that you have to put outside, because trust me, you have no idea of how many people put either this on wrong way, or what I did at one point, which wasted 5 minutes of my time, was I realized I installed things backwards or upside down and all of that. And then your second part is sort of the inside piece. This is the part where you assume that everyone already has access so this would be inside, quote unquote. It doesn't have to necessarily be indoors, but just the part that has the sensitive stuff, whether it's people leaving or like a really hot human being who will just bang anybody, or $1 billion, or like Cancun or whatever. So this is the inside part. So again, there's no lock on this. This will usually automatically rotate and turn and would activate the mechanism. Obviously, there's no key because, again, they assume that if you are currently past the front part with the lock, that you already have access. It's kind of like the overall security flaws. Essentially, once you're in, you're in. Another thing about a lot of these is these are usually designed that when they're linked up together, that when you turn from the inside, a lot of these have a feature where it will basically auto unlock. So when you turn the handle here, it's going to automatically unlock this part of the door, meaning you'd have to stick the key and relock this, unless this is what is called, which I don't think it is, it's known as an automatic lock, which means as soon as the door closes, it automatically relocks itself. So we're going to find that out. And then possibly the most important piece, and I might have the wrong one here, this is a Schleg, but we're going to find out in a moment, is this is the actual bolt. You're going to notice here that there's a couple of features in here. Basically, this right here is the mechanism that will actually pull the bolt here inside and out. So when this mechanism turns, which are these little like bolt gear parts that it fits into, when it turns, it will actually retract the bolt. Same thing when you pull the handle the other way or keep it neutral, it will pop out again. Also, depending on the door, it's also really important to know which way this faces. And that actually happened here with the basement door. There's technically no real wrong way, for most part, to install these things. Look how dirty my hands are getting already. This looks like I picked my butt and I'm about to shake like the president's hand or something, because, Americans. But the problem is that sometimes there's certain door functions, so I quickly realized that you'd want this in order so that when you closed it, it auto-locked, right? And so the problem is that if I remember correctly, I had it installed like this with the flat side of this bolt here facing outwards. And this is going to be a problem because that means, if you turn this, you will be able to open it. But you'd be able to open it. But once you turn it back, it's going to hit this backside, and that means you have to actually turn this in order to retract the bolt to close it. And, again, that might be a good security feature, so that way people know that the door's locked and that's like an active thing. But in this case, these are our ex-neighbors. I'm playing with their knobs, essentially, as it says in the title. I wanted to make sure it was the most easy use, so I would install this the curved way, so that way when you closed it, the actual physical lineup of this will automatically push the bolt back, and of course once it's inside, it locks. I can also tell you these things because both doors actually have essentially the door frame is ridged, and it's ridged. I know it's going to sound sexual. It's ridged deep. I'll put it this way: it's somewhere between like 1 inch to 3 deep, which is pretty deep for doors. Let's put it that way. Now I can tell you the exact number. Meaning, so if you're thinking, oh, I did some Oinst recon, ILMOB style, and I found out where they live, so I'm going to take like a gym bypass, you're going to have no luck. The only way you're going to do this is by breaking the frames and security features on them, and at that point, even if they're not there, everyone for miles is going to hear you. You're going to have to use a bulldozer or a shovel or something. And it's just not going to work. That's why I can tell you which way I actually installed this thing. And I'm actually going to see if I can put this bridge in and see if I can... Yeah, this should do the rotation. So it's like you put that in there, and normally you would also have... Let's see this. Yep, this is actually, I think this is the correct one. Hang on. Let's find out. Okay. So you can see when I put this together, and of course then there's like screws that go all the way in. These are not the correct ones, but they would go all the way in and hold the door closed. So if you were able to do a cross section here, this is what the inside of a door would look like. And you'll note, see, this is the inside without the lock. When I turn that, automatically pulls that bolt in, right? With this one, it's locked, so I don't have the key for it. But yeah, this shows you the sort of action. So if you would made a door invisible, this is how this would work. And normally, again, if you don't install them backwards like what I did, this only takes a couple of minutes. In fact, the first time when I did their actual replacement doorknob as just a temporary security thing, they were actually shocked and were like, whoa, you did that in under 10 minutes. Which shocked me because that kind of made me realize how long it takes for, like, because I'll tell you this, a lot of times when you call a locksmith, usually, unless it's something really fucking dumb or something like you gotta be effing kidding me, and I just realized I got 2 different screws, but that's fine. The actual whatever they're gonna do with your lock and door is gonna take seconds to only a couple of minutes. Most of the time a locksmith spends at your door, or a lock repair person, whatever, it's talking to you and documenting and figuring out what the problem is, and then afterwards calculating all the stuff that happened and coughing up what the cost is. That's most of the time. So because I was doing this as a friend, and I did this as a friend, so I didn't have to go through all of that. And even then, they'd just be like, "Oh, cool! I'll just cash app you some money, awesome!" Or just like, "Here, take this," just because they're nice friends. That's why I was able to go. And so that really tells you, like, even when a locksmith knows what they're doing, which sometimes they don't, and a lot of times they will send out lackeys, as we talked about last episode with the electronic locks. That really shows how much time this takes. So I was just sort of like, wow, like, it's kind of sad, but then you start thinking about it and you realize how much time that takes. So yeah, I'll put it this way. The basement door and the front doorknob that I replaced took a couple of minutes. Because all I'm really doing is taking apart the screws that hold the door together, and then taking apart these screws that bolt this to the door, swapping out all the parts, putting them back in, testing the keys, having someone come out, test the door, that's fine. This motherfucker. These. And I'm going to give you a hint. The problem, nothing to do with the lock itself. I mean, you could do better than this crap. This quickset, this base quickset with its wide-ass keyway and everything, old-ass classic locks that you see on every building, this probably was put up in the 70s or 80s or shit, maybe even a couple of years ago. That's not the problem, honestly. Like, again, we're going to test pick stuff. I'm just going to get extra screws here to make sure I have, like, the right screws for things, even though I'm not installing anything. And I also might as well just take some of this stuff out because we're going to kind of go over that bit in a moment. Was not the problem at all. This whole thing worked, besides the fact that it needs to be replaced and shit. The problem was the door, or more accurately, whoever was the cross-eyed idiot that did the door. And then we're gonna pick these in a moment. We're gonna attempt to pick these, I should say. Let me give you a quick story. I used to work at a courthouse. Okay, I'm not going to say which one, but I used to work at a courthouse, and I did, like, operations. Like, think of this stuff, but also, like, building cubicles, throwing furniture out, redoing walls. One of my specialties was brash policing. Ha, 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 ha. And also resetting the clocks. And my other specialty is air conditioners, right? This is before I even got into lock stuff. But it was, like, a lot of type of hard, like, when people think of, like, blue collar, and they're not thinking of, like, farmers or like construction workers, and mine was basically construction worker adjacent. It's this type of shit. Yes, polishing knobs. That's what we're doing on this episode. Again, look how dirty my hands are because I'm a dirty old man. My birthday is also coming up soon. So here's the thing. So one of the most perplexing things on my job. You ever had something go on at your job where you come in and you're like, what the fuck? And then you bring, like, your coworkers, and they're like, what the fuck? And then you bring your boss, and your boss is, what the fuck? And then you bring the supervisor, what the? And so you just have a whole group of the entire division just staring at this thing in disbelief, like, what? So this is one of these, and here's what happened. So if you've ever been in a cubicle, I looked at a cubicle, and I won't go into how they're, like, the whole construction details, because it's actually kind of fascinating, but that's not the show. you'll know that on the top, before, like, there's like, the big area and then like a desk like this where you type and work and like play Zynga and jerk off and shit. Above that, there's like usually electronics that have like lights and stuff. That's usually all one panel. And here's how you would install that. You would go, you'd put them up. If it doesn't have screw holes for some reason, like let's say the top part's made out of wood because you're dealing with something from the 60s, you'd mark with a pencil on where they are through the actual holes, put it down, drill those, put it back up. That's an extra step. But let's assume that's already done. So you just put it up, you take the screws it comes with, or if they've screwed up, you buy your own, and you screw them in. 4 screws, done. You plug it in behind the wall. You can turn the lights on and off, make sure it checks, make sure it's all in there so it doesn't fall on like someone's hands while they're typing. Done. This was the guy, and this was even more funny. This is the guy. Oh, and I realized I forgot to turn off the desktop audio. So sorry if there was an echo. That was that reason. I forgot to turn it off. I apologize. So hopefully you can hear me clearly now. But get this happy horse shit. The guy I replaced, his name was Harold. I actually don't know his last name. I wouldn't dox him if I did, but we're going to call him Harold. His name was Harold. This was the guy I was hired to replace. He was notorious for being a giant idiot, okay? We were like, where are the screws? Well, first of all, we were like, why doesn't this come off? We took out 2 of the screws. Like, it's already bad enough that there were 2 screws in there, because it should be all 4 screws. And if they couldn't fit, you would call, like, your boss or the supervisor or whatever and figure out what the fuck's wrong with it. So we were just like, okay, so all the screws are off. Why is this coming down? We pried it off. The dude apparently did not know how to screw the screws in, so instead of asking for help, which is why I always tell people, if you don't know anything works or you're stuck with lockpicking or anything, just go and ask for help. If you're coding, go to Stack Overflow, email us. Even if we don't know the answers, we'll point you. Ask for help because honestly, sometimes trying to experiment make it worse. Sometimes it's even worse, and here's one of the cases. So instead of asking for help for the 4 measly screws, he took an entire roll of industrial double-side tape, laid it on the whole thing, which is the size of this desk, and stuck it underneath, which means our job to remove it, normally, again, bzz, 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 take down, new one, bzz, 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 done. 3 minutes was literally most of the day because we had to take that off and put chemical solvent and knock that off, and in order to return the part, we have to now scrape off because it's double-sided, and then we had to clean it, let it air dry, and then put it on. It was a giant mess. I'll tell you that story because this is what the deadbolt was like. On one of these days, I'll go back and I'll take pictures of it. Again, the problem was not this deadbolt. Just kind of show you how it breaks apart. You've probably seen these solid pieces here. It's actually multiple pieces. So here's the actual deadbolt. Here's the core, and that's the little tail. It's the same tail it's the same tail as this. This one's built in that interacts with the actual plug and or bolt to open the lock, and is controlled by this end piece. But yeah, you take that out. If I was able to dismantle it further, I don't have the tools for it, but if I was able to dismantle it further, you would actually see the pin tumbler core. You could actually see the clip right here. I know it's a little blurry, but you can actually see that clip. If I took that out, I could actually probably pop that off, but I'm not going to do that. The springs will shoot out. Then you'd have the driver pins, the key pins. Maybe I might do that on air. We'll see. And if I took this apart, this would look like one of the practice locks, because ultimately when you take an entire lock and it's just the pin tumbler core with the Bible, which is what's here, that's what it looks like. So this is also a shell, but this is actually one part. And then this is the outside cover, and then this is the inside cover, aka the solid maintainer, because this thing is mostly hollow. And in fact, if you put all these pieces together, you will quickly realize that when you look at it from the inside, most of the space in here is hollow. And eventually I'm going to get one of these, both for my own personal use, so to keep people here. But you can look up, there is a video that Bosnia and Bill did, aka Bosnia and Bill from Block Lab, that is called, I believe, the Pop Capper. And it's 4 quick sets, Schlags, and other locks like this, where it's mostly hollow on the inside. You have the clip, and it's mainly used for locksmiths, where let's say the lock is either really hopeless or you have to get in really fast, and it's a tool that basically bypasses upwards and pops that clip out, and then you just rake the lock, which won't pick it. It will send the pins and springs flying and all this extra in-body, so there's literally nothing in the lock, and then you can just open it, and then later on when you take it apart like this, you put the pins back in, or you put put new pins in AK, you repin the lock and put it all back together. And it's a time saver. But that's how it works, because most of this dirty space in here is empty. So that wasn't the problem. The bolt, which I believe is this, because these are both quick sets. Right, this is the only way I think labeled quick sets. It also has a thing, again, where there's different cuts for the door, and the way you actually make it longer or shorter, just like in real life, is by twisting it. So remember, ladies and dudes who like other dudes, if you want to make something longer and shorter, you just twist it really hard at its base, and that's how you extend and contract. And then, of course, you have this end tail piece here, which when put on the correct way in here, I can turn it so that it doesn't, so it locks, and then turn it so that it opens. That's how that works. No problems here. The problem was the door. I wish I could take a picture of this. The door, and then we're going to pick these, is a composite door, okay? Meaning it's not solid wood or solid metal. It has like a wood pulp mesh in the middle. It's like filler. It's almost like hardened styrofoam, right? And then the outsides are just plain sheet metal. The doorknob for this that I don't have was they cut a hole. They used I would assume a drill to make the initial gap, and then they used a saw that works with both metal and wood and sawed a hole that was this type of circumference, right? Standard doorknob one. With this one, they kind of mostly cut it a hole on the outside. On the inside, however, remember that metal paneling? I shit you not, it looked like someone took a single barrel, like shotgun, like 6 gauge or something, stuck that in the hole, and just fired point blank on it to create the inside hole. They literally drilled out, they basically went close enough for the exact width of these original screws. And this is a problem, because basically they never thought of putting in what would happen if this lock breaks and you'd have to put in the new one. The same way Harold, by using the double-sided sticky tape, didn't think what would happen in about 8 to 10 years when we'd have to upgrade the light systems, and thus making the work harder for the poor asshole that comes after them. And why is this a problem? Well, new, different screws have to go in. Also, it's not the exact width. So I'll put it this way. So the outside part, I had to hammer in. It just fit, right? Because sometimes when you can't fit it in the hole, no, guys, if you have a hard time fitting in the hole, try using a mallet hammer. Works on all holes. Trust me, I'm an expert. The inside one, the one that looks like shotgun blast or someone like jabbed it with a crowbar to create the hole, forget it. Because not only was there no real way for me to properly line this up, and by the way, I didn't have any like thumbs up really from the homeowner, which means I'd have to call the actual person they're renting from to like recreate, to break open a new hole or whatever, or do something with the frame. But that means not only did I had to do crazy shit to actually drill this in, the way they also cut this bolt on the inside with that, because it's like 2 different size holes, meant that this only existed halfway. So I'm not going to say what I did, but I had to modify a bunch of things for it to fit, because if you can't get the bolt part to fit because of the hole, the doorknob will stick out, and which is exactly what happened. When I closed it, it worked, but I couldn't open the door because it stuck out just enough that the door wouldn't open, so I had to dismantle it, try a new trick, and re-put it back together. That literally took an hour and a half to figure out. So again, I would say this would take 3 to 5 minutes. I accidentally put this bolt upside down. I could have left it the way it did, but I wanted to make it easier, so this actually took like 8 minutes. Bottom lock, 3 or 5 minutes. This deadbolt, fuck this. Took forever, hour and a half of me. Originally, I was worried that I might have to like filament the hole or put the old block in and just do a bunch of stuff, and you have but I got everything to finally work, and everything does work. Also note about this, because this is important, some doors, there's like a way, and this is really stuck on here because it's been years of use, where you have these sort of covers. Sometimes you need covers like this. Sometimes you need covers like that. Sometimes you can use no cover at all. That's also another aspect of locks. And this was one of the old, which I also replaced. This is the actual like You know, this would be on the lock itself, and this part would be on the door. And this is basically a way so that you have thin metal against thin metal, and that way you have a hard time shimming and stuff like that. It also helps the durability of the door. So, that is that. Now what we're going to do, if I can, is we're going to attempt to pick these. The locks that I got are not like perfect, super like anti-lock picking, but I did pick some and looked out for certain security features, such as the bid, which we covered in our episode about security stuff in locks. I believe that was episode 4, where it was bidding and the type of driver pins that it had. I'm not going to go into that in this episode, so I'm going to do this just as this core. And then this guy is just going to be by itself, and we're going to actually now attempt to pick these open. Now, this is going to be fascinating, because again, I haven't done this with these. This is my toolkit. I'm hoping by April, which will be around my birthday time, I'm going to get an entirely new kit with new picks and everything. And also note that I'm rubbing my nose with my knuckle here, and the reason for that, again, is because my hands are dirty. I don't want to give myself door COVID for this show. So I'm going to pick some things I think I might need for this that we're going to try it first. So I'm going to use two bomb the keyway tension wrenches. They both have twists in them, which I prefer, because one, minor thing, I think it gives me a bit more feedback, but two, I also have normal, like non-twist ones, the Z wrenches as they call them, but those cut into my fingers, and I just find this more comfortable. I can basically pick longer. And then I have 2 pry bars, which I believe are 40 thousandths. One dog-eared one and one, so again, just as a super close-up here, these are the bomb the keyway tension wrenches, 2 different lengths and widths. This is in my current EDC. That's like kind of my temporary one until I get the upgrade. And then what I'm going to also put in here are the 2 pry bars. This one is known as a dog ear tag. This is like the direct angular L, while this is an S-shaped one, or S-type. These are both known as pry bars. They work on top of the keyway. Sometimes they're just called top of the keyway turning tools or tension wrenches. I believe these are 40 thousandths of an inch. Another detail, which is hard to see because I don't have the zoom cam on right now, but they have these little cuts out on them, and what you can't see with the resolution is that they have little cuts in them just to kind of bite the keyway a bit better, so that because these have the potential, because of particularly how much tension you're putting on, to fly out of your hands when tensioning. So there is that. Let's see, so I'm going to take out probably the tool I use the most, which is this my little short hook here, and these were tools that were donated to me, which is why these are like not the best tools. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, this is like the Peterson XL, but I'm working on those again probably around like April. I'm going to upgrade one of my sets. I plan to have multiple everyday carries for different situations, because that's the way just I operate. But these were all given to me, so again, you work with what you have. Some of these I did buy. I did have a 15,000th inch, but one, especially with how wide these keyways are, I don't think I'm going to need it, and 2, I lost it. I don't know where it is in the apartment, and I have to get new 15 thousandths of an inch for multiple reasons. I'm also going to put in here, just in case I need it, especially with how wide the keyways are. I have one super high hook one. I think this is like a Chinese-made one, made for Chinese locks, so kind of neat. I also love that this thing is magnetic. I just love that I got a free wrench here. So what else? Well, since these are door locks, I'm going to make some assumptions here. So I'm going to take a city rake. City rakes emulate bidding of keys. I don't think I have like practice keys around. Here we go. No, that's actually a different thing here. Yeah, these are from the electronic lock. So as you can see right next to it, that's a type of key, and then next to it is the city rake, or L rake as they're sometimes called. And the thing right here is you'll notice that the bidding is kind of very similar. And again, the reason why I'm showing you this key is because these are the electronic locks. We're not going to use them for anything. Those are literally just for practice purposes. But yeah, in this one, you jiggle up and down. It's a type of rake. And those usually are more effective because a lot of doorknob stuff. So when I teach people, when they do the progressive lock set, when they get to 4 pins, I have them work on real padlocks. Mainly, I start them off at master number 3s, and if I can, because I think they're even a better, easy one to first start out with a real lock, which is the master lock 120s or 140s, which is kind of odd because they technically have a spool pin in them, but the tolerances are so bad that it doesn't even matter they have a spool pin. once they get to now, a lot of people, a lot of times at Tool, they often go, when you have 4 pins, that's a padlock. When you have 5 pins, you can do most door locks. The way I break it down more easy is, for me, is just my teaching style. It's not wrong. That is true. My teaching style is I say, when you get to 4 pins, I'm going to have you work on a padlock. When you get to 6 pins, I'm going to put you on a door lock. Because most door locks, because they're lazy, especially with quick sets, are 5 pins, whether or not they have security pins in them. Bunch of door locks, though, are 6 pins. And in my opinion, if you know how to pick 6 pins, you A, know how to pick 5 pins, and B, you might have an easier time with 5 pins after going through gauntlets of opening like 3 or 4 times a 6-pin lock. So I just make it easier where it's like you've gone an extra level above, so now I'm going to put you on like a real doorknob, right? And when it comes to bypassing, these city rakes, because you have a lot more surface area. In fact, that's actually one of the reasons why, and I might go back to it, we're not going to use an S rake for this. In my experience, an S rake or a snake rake, really good for 3, sometimes there's 3-pin locks, but like 4-pin locks. I don't really use these often unless I'm experimenting with 5 pins and 6-pin locks because, again, it's kinetic. You need to hit all the pins nearly around the same time, and you have such a short distance here, it's very hard to cover all 6 pins with this type of rake. The city rake is super long, which is why for a lot of like padlocks, particularly master locks, sometimes these city rakes don't really work so well because it's only 4 pins. This is mostly a full key bitting, but for a door lock, this will cover all of the pins, whether they're 5 or 6 pins. The other one that we're going to experiment with here is I don't have a triple peak yet, but I do have a double peak, so that will be the backup if the city rake doesn't work. And then finally, just as, I know this is like most of the toolkit, but hear me out, just as an experiment, I'm going to use this guy. This is a Chinese type of lockpick that came with a free Chinese set when I got it with the clear door lock, which is a godsend if you're teaching stuff. And this, in chat, I'm just curious, I'm going to give everyone like 15 seconds to guess what this pick is called. It's a very unusual shape, as you can see. Does anyone know in chat what this pick is called? I'm going to give everyone 15 seconds while I drink and do the Final Jeopardy theme. Do 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 do. You're not that far off. You'll notice that even though I don't have it with me right now, it does have half diamond properties to it. In fact, it has a bunch of properties. I actually thought that someone might accidentally call this, because now I'm going to give you the answer basically, unless someone wants to yell in chat before I do, a boom slang, which is something that Locknoob invented, and I want to get, if you want to get his boom slang, it's known as the Medusa on Sparrow's website, so you can go get that. But it's a similar concept. This is known as, so what I love about lockpicks real quick is that most, unlike, okay, so an InfoSec, right? You'll have something where it would, I don't know, like reverse engineer it would scan and reverse engineer a Kubernetes, right? So instead of calling it like a Kubernetes decryptor or like a Pwn Kuber or something, it's called something like the Elliptor Ultratron, which doesn't tell you what the fuck it does. What I love about most lockpicking stuff is sometimes there's some ridiculous names, like, you know, Sparrows has this really awesome multi-raking set called Reflections, you know, but most tools, especially the base tools, are all named after what they all look like and function. So you'll notice if I bring up one, that S rake I showed you, right? It's not an S rake or a snake rake. Why? Well, if I hold it kind of this way, it vaguely looks like an S. It's like a little S curve, right? And it kind of snakes in and out. So it's a snake rake. Same thing with the double peak. Why is it called the double peak? Well, it has 2 peaks, you know? So what's hilarious is that the official name that most Blocksport people call this is the stiletto. Because if I put my finger down here, it looks like a little stiletto shoe, right? You can see it there, like that's the heel, and then it curves, and that's the tip. So it's like kind of walking around. You know, if I had 2 of these, it'd be like a sexy woman or someone just walking. It's known as a stiletto. And the reason why I'm going to experiment with this one near the end, unless nothing works, is that one, the keyway is wide enough that I actually think this will work. That's a problem with a lot of these Chinese picks. They're designed for East Asian locks, and a lot of East Asian locks have wide keyways and, in general, poor security. Not all of them, obviously. It's like assuming that all quick sets are terrible until you meet, or master locks until you actually meet the terrible, like the actual pain in the ass ones, because they do exist. But a lot of them are like that. So they fit in better. With certain American locks, especially European locks and high security stuff, you're not going to fit this. But what you do with this is you can use that tip to single pin pick or zip, and then the double bump side you use as a double peak to rake. And this is good, especially if you get the thinner Medusa one at Sparrows, because this is really good for competitions. So not only can you zip it to try to open it, but basically in competitions, you a lot of times see these hybrid picks, because what you'll do is you put in a lock and then you rake it with the double peak side, put it in a false set, then flip it over to that pointed side, go in, and then single pin pick the one or two pins that are stuck in that false set that are left to open it. And it's usually out better. So I want to see if this works. So that's what we're going to attempt to start with some of these. So let's see, which one should I do? Should I do the old basement lock, this handle lock here? Remember, I don't have the keys for these, so I can't even test they open. I do know that they worked because I used the test key on this. Or should I do the old deadbolt? So I'm going to give it to chat for a bit about which one do you think I should do. This quick set deadbolt, that was a big pain in the ass to take apart. Or what I think this is, which let me look at the thing. It's also, let's see. I believe this is a Schlage. Yeah, it should be a Schlage, especially with the way the keyhole is shaped. A Schlage, this was the basement handle door that you could go in from the outside. So if you don't choose, I'm going to choose one, but I'm going to let the chat choose. Someone said deadbolt. Does anyone want to disagree with ONDB here? We have one vote for the deadbolt. If there's no other vote, no other vote, I'm going to go with the deadbolt and give everyone a couple of seconds. I'm so tempted to use the hand wipes right now, but I'm going to be like holding them like this. And as you can see, just by doing that, that's going to get this even more dirty. There already is. I'm going to be one filthy MFer during this episode. The sad part is, because we're going to be doing a lot more locksmithing type stuff, my hands are probably going to get this dirty or even more dirty, which is why I'm also not touching the grip master here, which is actually upside down, as we are doing this, because we're going to get into more locksmithing stuff. And also the new Incent rewards coming out. Actually, while everyone tries to vote, I'm going to let people know what the Incent reward is. So you probably see this rewards time comes out. It's going to activate in 20 seconds. It's a cool way to earn. We're not sponsored by them. This is an actual legit thing. It's not a scam. To earn free cryptocurrency while you watch the stream. So you go to get.incent.com. I'm not going to type in chat because it's going to pop up in a moment. You either type in the code that randomly generates or scan that QR code with the Incent reward app. You get a little bit of what's called Incents type of cryptocurrency. You can then trade it for another cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or Monero or something, and then pocket that out as change. So basically, as you watch this show, you get free money. And we don't get kickbacks from or anything. We just think this is a cool way to reward people watching. In addition, again, if you like all the content that you've seen so far and you really want to see future episodes of Master of Unlocking next month, or see some of the upcoming shows like Archvile Linux Perspective this Thursday, whenever he airs it again, Hackall N Commander by N Commander, or my other show, Crypto Barons, which is going to pop up this Saturday, or any of our specials or our meeting itself. Our next one will be March 19th. You can hit that bell, click like, share, and subscribe on Twitch, D Live, or YouTube when you do that, as well as give us, if you send us lemons or bits or super chats, and we'll see the pop-ups for those and we'll cheer you on. And also awesome if you're watching through Invidus by the tour, especially since of how wonky it is right now. And also awesome if you're watching us through Diode Zone, because that's the coolest new edition. But yeah, I just want to let everyone know that. I'm going to do one more step. And I think I'm going to try to tackle these for the next like 10 minutes to half an hour, and then we're going to go raid a channel on Twitch, and that'll be the end of it. So no one else voted, so we're going to try this deadbolt. So this is a quick set. Now, one, you could tell because even though it's blurred up here, it says quick set on there. So it's funny because a lot of people I've always had where I'm like, this is a quick set, or this is a Schlage, or whatever, and they're like, how do you know? And the funny part is it's like, duh, it says it right on the lock. Half the time it's like that. You can also tell by certain shapes of the keys. And by the way, even though this is a quick set, there are many different types of quick set keys. I'm not versed enough. I have like a master list on my phone of like, there's all these different variants. So I just know this is a quick set type key. I have no idea how this works. In fact, I'm actually going to take this stupid key and see if I can slide it in. Yep, it slides in, but it's not the right bitting, so it's not going to turn. And again, quick set, if you see this kind of outline here, that is a quick set key. But I can also kind of tell a bit by the shape because it's basically, it's almost like a straight slot down. There's a little bit of a curve, but they like basically fake a curve by putting in 2 notches in here for the ridge for the key to slide in. So it's basically, they made it a straight line, but they put 2 notches to give it the illusion of being like an S-curve, more paracentric shape than it is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out how many pins there are in there. And so I'm going to show the technique of how you do this if you don't know. Because again, when I give people practice locks, the one that says practice lock number 4, how many pins do you think there's in it? Duh! 4 pins. Why? It's the number 4. The numbers on those say exactly what they are. The 3 one is 3 pins. The 6 one is 6 pins. But it's like, okay, when you attack a real world lock, like if I didn't even tell you that, for example, master lock number 3s have 4 pins, how would you know? Like it says, if I wore this to your date, what would you do? What would you do? Well, here's the technique that I'm shocked doesn't get to teach more. You take a tool with a completely flat edge. It's actually pretty much what your half diamond is really good for, because I forgot to pull out the half diamond. It's in the other kit. I'm going to use this city rake, which, if you notice, the back part is completely flat. There are no grooves in it. So you take that, you put it flat edge up. So this is the top of the keyway up here. That's the bottom of the keyway, orientated. The ultimate squiggle at the bottom, if the short part of the squiggle is always the bottom, the long extended part here, because that's where the pins have to line up, is always the top. So you take that flat side, so you put it pin up, you face it towards the top of the keyway, and you put it in. There's no tension tool here, because you're just counting pins. You should start it all the way back. Then what you're going to do is you're going to push up, and that's going to lift all the pins, and then you very slowly pull out. And what that's going to do, because I can't speak, is as you slowly pull out, because all the pins are being pushed up with the spring tension, the pins are all going to drop. And I'm going to feel them drop. And every time one drops, that's 1 pin. So that's how we count. If you are in a completely quiet thing, as we're in now, you can probably hear the pins drop. So I'm going to pull back first. I'm not going to count out loud. You should be able to hear it. And then we will actually count out loud. So again, I'm going to put the flat side down. Flat side's facing the pins, aka the top of the lock. I'm going to push all of them out. We're going to pull out, and I will feel the drops. You can't feel it at home, but you should be able to hear it. I'm actually going to hold up close for it. So here we go. Yep. Heard all of those, right? I actually saw the mic go off. I'll do it again really slowly, and then we'll count out loud. So put all the flat edge of the tool all the way back with the flat edge facing the pins, aka the top of the lock, pushed all the way up. So all the pins are being pushed up. I could actually feel that spring tension. We're going to pull out very slowly again. Here we go. You're going to hear that click. I'm going to feel them. It really feels like a mechanical, like if you've played like a Switch or PlayStation 5 game with HD Rumble. Here we go. Hear that? Okay. So now we're going to count. So by the way, for anyone counting at home, how many pins did you hear on both of those? I'll do it one last time, and then we'll count out loud. How many pins are in this lock? How many pins? Does anyone know? I'll give everyone a couple of seconds. Nice correction. We'll count out loud, even though I already know the answer. So pull the tool all the way back, push them all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 pins in here. Now again, as I told you, most door locks, and this was a door lock, it was a deadbolt on a door, have 5 pins in them. Some have 6, and depending on where you are, 6 pinners might be more common than 5 pinners. Again, most people say, oh, if you know 4 pins like I do, you have a padlock. But for example, a lot of abuses are 6-pin locks, even though they're padlocks. So if you encounter any lock, unless you know that exact brand, and even then, maybe it's modified, you always do the flat edge, push all the pins up, slowly remove and count technique so that you absolutely know for sure. Don't just immediately go in and start picking. I know it seems like when you watch, and again, not their fault. Look how dirty my thumb is by holding that. You see, shows like Lockpicking Lawyer and Bosnian Bill at Lock Lab and Lock Noob and Legal Lockpicker and Helpful Lock. These are all great channels. They're all great lockpickers. I watch this show, and this is not a fault of their own. This is just a teaching thing, right? The reason why they don't count is because their video is pre-recorded. They've already done this. They've already tested the lock. They might even know or look at the model. They might have already disassembled the lock. So they know the exact pinnage. That's why they don't bring this thing up. So I'm teaching you this as a real world skill. When you're out in the field, this is the part you don't see in those videos. Not because it's dumb or embarrassing. It's actually very important. And it's not that because they're so expert they don't need to do it. It's because they've already dealt with that lock. They already know how many pins it's in there. But if you encounter any lock, you want to know how many pins, because it's not going to tell you usually. You use the flat edge of a tool, like this city rake, or even better, the half diamond. You put it in there, push all the pins up, and slowly pull out. You will feel, and in a quiet room, you should be able to hear all of them go down. So that's 5 pins. So I'm going to do my basic thing to start off. I'm actually going to use the long guy first. I'm going to do bomb the keyway tension here. And again, I'm not going to go over how to pick locks. If you want to do that, look at episode 2 and I believe episode 7 when I redid it with the new cameras. But 2 of the old episodes, I go over exactly how locks work and how you single pin pick those. So I'm just showing this. It's like when we tackled 2 episodes ago, we tackled the club, and I've also done wafer lock ones. This is the same thing here. We're just going to see if we can pick it. NDBS, what is the main advantage of knowing the number of pins? The main advantage is that it's OPSEC. It's OPSEC and Recon. You will know exactly how many pins, and you're also looking for the binding order. Again, I have 2 videos, and also Lock Noob has an amazing video and stuff on how you actually pick locks. But knowing the pins is really crucial, because then you will know the binding order and how many you're doing. So I've had new pickers where they're not told that, and they go in and they're like, I don't know, and they don't know because they're pushing around, and there's like a 5 pinner, they think it's a 6 pin, and they're like trying to find a 6 pin that's not there. They're pushing up on a space that feels springy, but there's no pin. They're just hitting the wall. You need to know this so you know how many pins you're dealing with, so that way you know where everything is in the binding order so that you can pick the lock open. It's basic recon. It's the same way of, like, let's say you were trying to hack like a computer on a CTF and stuff. Wouldn't it be way easier if you knew right off the bat, like you did like a scan, you were like, oh, this website's being hosted by WordPress. Or you scan it, oh, it's being hosted by the modern version of Windows Server. Imagine if you went in blind, so you're doing like Linux commands on it and Unix commands and stuff and GUIX and stuff, and nothing's responding, and then you're finally, like after 20 minutes, you freak out, you enter a PowerShell command, it works, and then you know now it's Windows, but you don't know what version, so you're trying all these different PowerShell commands and stuff, and then you notice how long that takes, as opposed to you just scan it, and you're like, oh, it's this. Now I know what flaws to look for. That's why it's good to know the number of pins. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. It's really important. So again, now that we know that there's 5 pins, and it's going to be interesting because I don't know if there's any security pins in here. We might be able to, because there's a C-clip, there's a clip on this. I might be able to actually take this apart on air. We'll see if we could do that in a bit. But anyhow, and actually realize they didn't even cut all the way up at the top here. There's actually, like, it's hard to see, but like, it's a little blurred out, but it's actually, you can see the outline of the metal where it was supposed to cut through the tab. They just did a quick slap blank in it. It's actually amazing the key fit in here at all at some point. But we're going to do bomb the keyway tension. I'm going to do light tension for this. And I'm going to go in with the short hook. And it's so weird because my hands feel so dirty. I'm actually going to also wipe these tool downs afterwards. And I'm going to hold this kind of like it's a padlock because, again, I took it out of its cord, out of its holder and stuff. And we're going to go in, and we're just going to pick around and feel for it. So I'm going to do light tension to start off with. I already felt some resistance on the first pin. Actually, a bunch of these are okay. That one's loose. This 3rd pin feels like it's resisting. And again, I might not even be able to open up all of these, but we're going to find out. And I also don't know unless I get like counter rotation and stuff, which I haven't so far yet. I don't even know if any of these are security pins or not. And again, whether I get this open single pin picking or I do, we're also going to attempt to rake this lock and see if that works. Because you have no idea how many times, again, because it's a utility thing. If this was like a sport challenge or like Lock Pickers United or something, I would attempt the single pin pick. But again, a lot of times when I encounter doorknobs, and especially if you're a locksmith, which I'm not, but a lot of locksmiths would rather break or bypass or rake a door open rather than single pin pick it, because single pin picking takes forever sometimes. So you have no idea, and I think there's it might be like a more uneven bidding on this, because I feel, and here I think certain pins sliding back down, which is odd. I'm actually going to, let's see. So we did move pins around because I felt and heard them reset, and we're going to try again. I'm going to try light tension, medium tension, hard tension, see what works. But you have no idea. Sometimes, like, for example, those smart quick sets or defiant bolts, sometimes there's like a crazy bidding on it, so I can't single pin pick it, but there's no security pins. So because I'm just like, oh, I need to get in immediately, I can't sit here for like an hour and single pin pick it, I'll take a simple rake, do it, and it opens in 2 seconds. Again, we're just trying to see if we can get an open here. I'm not trying to do like lock sport, and I'm also kind of testing out what's going on here. So I'm going to do light tension again. Okay, so this one moves. I'm trying to find a binder here. The weird part is I think I might have to use a heavier tension because they're like kind of binding, but not really. So we're going to try an experiment here. I'm actually going to go and we're going to do like what I call medium tension. We're going to see if that makes this easier to feel and hear. Also, we might try top of the keyway tension if I feel like my bomb the keyway tension, which it isn't right now, but it also might like feel like it's getting in the way. So again, this is lock sport stuff. We might try different things. Also, even though this key works, it also could be that, again, you see how dirty my hands are? We might have to break the lube up these locks, and then try. Oh, there we go. Open. Gone open. So I can tell you right now that we might take this apart later. I will be shit surprised if there's security pins in here. I can also tell you right now that it's not a completely flat bidding, but it's not a great bidding either. I think maybe there's like, I felt like there's like out of the 5 pins that it feels like maybe 2, but there might be 3 pins, 1 in the back and 2 in the frontish middle, that you have to move in order to open. The other 2 pins are kind of mostly there. So again, even though we got this open, and yay, we got an open. And by the way, when you open something 1, yell open 2. You see how I have this turned to 90 degrees, like quick sets at the top. You see how this is like almost vertical. 30 to 90 degrees is the max turnage that you do on this. Do not turn it 180 so it's upside down. Do not 360 it. Especially practice locks, like when tool meetings open up, or you go to DEFCON or HOPE or GERCON or ShmooCon or ConCon or anything. Don't 180 or 360 it. A tool keeps forgetting to put that in their slides, so we have to say it if people don't know. Because when you do that, it's going to break the lock. It's like pins are going to be on the line, the springs are going to not really work well. And especially if they're the practice locks, that means either that practice lock's broken, we have to throw it away and make or buy a new one, or someone has to sit there, pop it open, and repin it with new pins, and it's just, so to not break the lock so we can reuse it, you only do it so it twists open, like, I see how I can move it back and forth like this, but I don't go past 90 degrees. The slot is only parallel with this. It's not upside down. That's as far as you go. I don't go do that again. And again, maybe we got lucky, so I'm actually going to reset this, close it, because remember, I don't have the keys. This is relocked again, and we're going to try again. And it seems like medium tension did the trick. I'm going to do that, medium tension. And also to note, if this was on the door, the way you would do this, by the way, in my opinion, is, first of all, and here's the key, right now, I could pretty much turn this either way. That's the key, so pun semi-intended. When you deal with padlocks, most padlocks, if this doesn't happen with a padlock, you have a weird padlock. It's very rare, very rare. Most padlocks turn it right. It's exactly like when you do screwdrivers or anything, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. For padlocks, right opens, left closes, okay? With a door lock, it's a little tricky. What you have to do is realize which side of this door is it on. If it's on, like if you're facing the door and it's on the right, that means the bolt is on the right. It's sticking in the door on the right. Meaning to turn it, you have to go against where the door is. So if the bolt's on the right, you're turning left. So you would tension this upwards, or you would tension it on the other side. In this case, bottom of the keyway. If this was on the left side facing the door, that usually means the bolt is on the left, so we'd have to turn it right, like what I'm doing right now. So if I had this all assembled with the core and everything, and like let's say the core was facing out like this, that the bolt's on my left, that means I turn it right. If the bolt was facing right, my right, that's going to be your left, but my right, I would have to turn this left away from the door bolt. So wherever the door bolt is facing, you have to turn the opposite of that. That's actually, which I don't have here, why a lot of some lock sporters and mainly locksmiths have what are called plug spinners. Because sometimes you forget or you don't notice or you have an exception and you successfully pick it open and realize, oh fuck, that's why it's not opening. I picked it the wrong way. The bolt was facing the left. I turned to the left. It's not going to open, but I have it picked open. And instead of, okay, now I have to close it and then re-pick it again, and it's going to take me more time, the plug spinner spins the plug so fast in whatever opposite direction you set it in that the pins won't have time to reset. So what you do is like you set the plug spinner to clockwise because you accidentally picked it counterclockwise, and then you can properly open the door. That's what a plug spinner is for. So if you ever seen a plug spinner, you're like, what the hell is that for? That sounds like some weird like kink fetish tool. It kind of is, but that's what it's for. So we just relock this again. We're going to just do that bottom keyway tension, what I call medium tension with this long bottom of the keyway twist tension here. Wide ass keyway, short hook, and we're going to try this again. And we're going to try a bunch of other things, and then we're going to move on to the basement door handle. And again, if anyone has any questions or comments that are not super assholic, please let me know in chat. Otherwise, again, keep lurking and keep learning. And what do you call it? If you like what you see so far, again, you can hit that bell, click like, share, subscribe on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. We normally stream on Facebook right now, but for some reason, that's not happening because, you know, Facebook and real names and Zuckerberg's human skin to hide his reptilian face and everything. So we're going to get that working out in a moment. And I also want to note the reason why we're picking this again, even though we picked it once, is just because we picked it once. Actually, let me try the back forward instead of front to back, which is how I did it last time. The reason why we're repicking this again is because just because you get it open once does not mean you now know how this lock works and you can pick it. Sometimes, which might be the case this time, you might be, I just heard that slip, you might be extremely lucky. I'm trying to replicate what I did before and I'm having a little issue. So again, I just want to see if my methodology worked out or if it was a fluke, especially since again, these door knobs were, these door locks, I should say, were outside, you know, for a while. So maybe it was just something that was worn down and it just instantly opened or whatever. So that's why, you know, I even do this with the practice locks. Like I give someone a 2-pinner and they're like, I got it open. I'm like, cool, do it again. I tell if I have to walk away, I'm like, pick this practice lock. Like if you're on the 3-pinner, pick it like 5 times. If you're able to open it 5 times, then move on to number 4. Number 4, you get that one open? Awesome. Pick it again 4 times. You good at that? Then try this real lock. You pick the master lock number 3 open? Good. Now pick it 4 more times. I tell people to do that so that way they don't go, oh, I picked this 4-pin open. I was awesome. They don't realize that they just had dumb luck and then they try the 5-pin one and now they're stuck on it for like 3 hours because they actually didn't learn anything. So it's also very useful to repeatedly pick a lock open over and over again. My hand's already cramping. There we go. So I got it open. I'm going to do that one more time as my hands start to crap out. And then we're going to try other techniques on this, see if anything's faster or more useful. So I'm actually going to do medium to heavy tension, it seems. Because the funny thing is, and I do tell people this, with the practice locks and like the simple master lock padlocks, I often tell people to do light tension, right? And that works. I tell people that when you first start picking locks, I usually, with consent, press on the back of their hand of how much pressure, because we're over the air, or if they don't understand that, I say the amount of pressure you would need to very lightly hold a piece of paper up against a wall without the paper dropping. That's the type of tension you need. But for like security locks and like day-to-day stuff, a lot of us just use super heavy tension right off the bat. And for a lot of high security locks, unless you're varying tension, a lot of those high security locks for no reason, a lot of times you're using, oh, almost there. It is in the pants. Okay. You're using hard or high tension to open these. I see what's going on. Fascinating. Okay. Maybe it's this. I will say the little two bumps in the quick set are kind of driving me a bit crazy. I'm getting a little caught up on them. I probably wouldn't need the 15,000th of an inch. I don't think that would make it easier. In fact, it'd probably make it harder because I'd probably be like, I would probably risk snapping the pick or bending it too much and my hands cramping up. And it'll be interesting because if I do dissect this in a minute, which I'm debating about doing, to be honest, I'm a little, I would be very surprised if there was an actual like serrated pin or a spool pin or any security pin in this. I would legit be really goddamn surprised because as far as I can feel, I think these are standard S pins. There we go. That's what it was. It's like a front one, one that's like barely in the middle. It's mostly in the front, and then another back one, and that seems to be the binding order. So I think I'm good with this. I'm going to give my hands a quick break here. Again, I normally do the scrunchie, but I'm just going to do like little hand movements, get some circulation in there, loosen up the joints, because that's the thing. Again, I do this a bunch, and let me tell you, your hands will get cramped. In fact, running joke is, how do you know someone's a locksmith or been in tool for a while? They all have cuts on their hands and they all have arthritis. It's actually shocked of how much I don't injure my hands and how smooth, soft, and fluffy my hands actually are. That's a real thing I've been commented on, both in tool and also my past sexual partners. That's not even a joke. That's real. Comparing why I do this, and I've only broken one lockpicking tool in my life, which is still sitting there, and I need to resolder it to fix it. But you will cramp, and again, I know what I'm doing here, and it's still that. Besides dirtying my hands, cramped my fingers up and my wrist and everything. And so, two things. One, this is empty right now, but this is lock sport, meaning you're not, as far as I know, you're not a spy, and you can't, you're not part of the Secret Service. You need to enter real quick. You're not, you're not in a sport competition itself. So take your time, and if your hands cramp up, stop, relax, do finger exercises, go do something else, play video games, take a nap, then come back to this. You are under no pressure or time limit when you're at Tool or DEFCON or whatever to do any of this. This is not a race unless you're actually entering a time race contest with this shit. See, I have hands like a dull cheese grater. Yes, I think that's eventually what my hands will do. In fact, real quick rant about this. Okay, so I thankfully I've met other people in Tool who are more advanced than I am, who have very slender hands. I have slender wrists, longish fingers, thin fingers. I'm basically made out of pipe cleaners. I do work out and stuff, but that's just my default body. What drove me crazy for a while is, I'm watching Lockpicking Lawyer, I'm watching Bosnian Bill and all these guys, and these are like a lot of these people are like the gods of lockpicking, or at least they have way more skill than I am, in my opinion, right? Way more skill. And it just bothered me that sometimes I'd be like, I'm having problems with this lock. I'm going to load up a thing from Bosnian Bill, or I'll just type in the name of the lock and see what they do. And every time, giant hands with giant sausage fingers. And so sometimes in the beginning, I used to sit there and be like, is that why I can't pick the lock open? Because I have tiny girl Donald Trump hands? Is like that? I have hand model hands. Is that? But no, I have friends at Tool and other lockpicking stuff where they have long, slender man hands, tentacle hands like I do. A little like raccoon hands, you know, and they're way better skilled than I am, and they can pick locks fine. Does that have to do with your hand type? But I did notice that a lot of the like super famous people in lock sport have ginormous like hands you could strangle a grizzly bear with, and so that just throws me on a loop. Still on 101. Okay, I'll check out that link in a moment, just because again how dirty my hands are. Yeah, my hands seem to be mostly relaxed, so let's try some other things on this, and then we will go to the old basement lock. So this was the deadbolt, and again, these were keyed the same key. So I'm pretty sure the bottom doorknob, which I don't have, I might be able to get that in the near future if she didn't throw it out yet, had the same bidding, right? And they had the same bidding, guaranteed, and they definitely probably didn't have, unless I take this apart and I find it, security pins. I think it just had normal pins. So basically, if I could pick this open in like a minute, the bottom one would be a minute. So in 2 minutes, mostly covertly, I could have gotten through their front door. Which is why the new ones I picked, I won't say you can't do that, because you never say that in lockpicking. It's the same way with computers. You never say, oh, this is an unhackable computer. That doesn't exist. I'm not saying you can't pick it open, but I did make sure to look out for security stuff, so I doubt it's going to be this easy for their current doors. Disadvantage is sometimes wish my fingers were a little thicker. Holding my tension tools would be easier. Honestly, it's probably your technique and your tools. So for example, this is honestly super short, which is why I have it, for a bottom of the keyway turning tool. This is ginormous, and it's from China. So what I'd recommend is that if your tool looks closer to the semi-standard, this tiny one, go get a bigger, thicker one. So many innuendos, but this is true. Go get one for this. In fact, sometimes when I give people, a lot of people have a hard time holding even their bottom of the tension weight tools, and I'm like, oh wait, they have giant hands, hang on, and then I'm like, here, this is from my set, just take good care of it, and they do that, and then they can get through all the practice locks. Believe it or not, while most of the stuff is skill, sometimes it's the tools, not even just for security stuff, but for comfort, and that's also one of these things. Sometimes also, when I do I consider this more advanced, the pry bars are at the top of the keyway, which is why I usually keep them separate, but honestly, for bigger, thicker hands, especially heavier sit hands, a pry bar for like shorter, thicker bare hands works really good. We're actually going to try that next. So it's all about what you're comfortable with. Again, if you don't like the twist, you can get Z wrenches, stuff like that. So I guarantee, if like, let's say, I don't know you very well, if you have bigger hands than like, I don't know if you're a girl or a guy or an alien or a canoe or whatever, but if you have larger hands than normal, get longer, larger, thicker tools. If you have smaller hands and your tool set not works, see if there's smaller, thinner versions of those tools. That's why most people who do this have, especially with tension wrenches, never mind these tools, to tension wrenches, they usually have a range of thicknesses and sizes and heights, not just so they can fit it in the keyway, which is a huge part of it, but also how much tension and especially the comfort. That's actually why I use this bigger one, because not only is it a wider keyway, but note how, and I have more control with the longer one, but note this is more comfortable because it's a full door lock. Watch when I put the short one in there. You saw how my hands cramped up after 15 minutes? This would be like a minute. I'd open it and then my hands would fall apart with the lock if it was this, which is why I usually go through the longer, thicker one on doors. Also because, again, I'm not usually holding a door lock like this, obviously. It's in a door. It's on the outside. So being able to, like, put tension on this like this and then use the pick with my other hand is easier for this longer, thicker one than for me to do the same thing with the shorter one. And again, sometimes the shorter, thinner one actually fits better, although that one just did that. Things like that. So that's why it's good to have a wide variety, but I guarantee if it's because you have giant hands and your tools are not working, you have small, thinner hands when they're not working, try different sizes and thicknesses of the same tools you're using. You will thank me later for it. And again, you can get individual ones. So like you go to Sparrows, don't get an entire new set of thin ones or whatever. Like if you're like, oh, I need thicker tools, go, for example, Sparrows, Monster Room, find like the Tron tool, buy it, it's $4. So you don't have to spend like $20 more just to get a new size range. You just get the individual one. That's what I did here. I had normal tools and I was like, crap, I have these high security shits. I need a thinner one for the parasync keyway. I didn't get an entire kit of thinner ones for $40. I went on Sparrow's website, paid $2 for a 15,000 inch short hook, and then I was able to eat through those. things like that. All right, so let's try some other techniques on here because I'm going to try to wrap this up here. So the next thing I'm going to try to do is we're going to hold this kind of almost upside down, and we're going to do top of the keyway. And what we mean by that is, remember how this guy put this at the bottom of the keyway here, and then we're using the tool at the top. This is the bottom. With these pry bars, aka top of the keyways, I'm going to use the short end for this because it probably hugs better. Actually, maybe the longer one? No, the shorter one. You go in there, top of the keyway, and that's how you're holding it. Sometimes you're doing it with your thumb or whatever. And there's an advantage and disadvantage for this. So the advantage for this, and I'll show you this, is when you use the bottom of the keyway, and this is especially true with higher security locks. I'm going to put in, let's see, so the short hook, I can mostly fit in here at the bottom. That's why I tried bottom of the keyway immediately first. But look at this super steep hook, right? Let's try putting it in with the bottom of the keyway. I can't. It's taking up too much of the room at the bottom. I physically can't fit this tool in. And for like high security locks, a lot of times the keyways are smaller and more power-centric. And that is actually why I usually see people use top of the keyway, not only just because of tensioning, but because this opens up that entire bottom of the keyway. I can have more room for the tool again. So again, we can put the short hook. I can actually wiggle this tool. I have all this room to hit and manipulate the keys. And let's go back to that super high reach hook. I can fit the whole thing in here now and move that around and manipulate it, which I actually might need to use with this. The disadvantage, two things that are both related. One, you hog a bit that first pin. Ideally, when you put this in here, you don't want this pry bar to rest on that first pin. If it does, you kind of take it out a little bit and move that up, and it's a little trickier to tension. But that hogs the first pin, meaning that in order to get that first pin, I have to literally try to reach around. I have to know my way around it and get that first pin without popping out this tension tool. And that's why sometimes when you see people pick with top of the keyways, they'll try to get that first pin and then it goes flying and they've lost all their tension and have to go get their tool after it's been embedded in their dog or whatever from flying across the room at 5 million miles per hour. I'm not saying that as if you're a noob. This happens to me all the time. I've seen this happen to Deviant. I think even Bosnian Bill in a couple of his videos, you'll see it where he opens it, and right when he does, this top of the keyway tension pry bar just flies out into the the Mars rover out there right now is like, oh cool, a tension wrench. Like that's how far it flies. So, and the other thing which is related to this is that you can't rake with top of the keyway tension tools. You can try. Maybe if only the back part needs to be raked, it might work. But you have to hit all those pins. You cannot hit that first pin with a rake. And because of the grooves and how you're doing it, you'll mostly pull this entire top of the keyway tension way out. But I want to see if I can top of the keyway pry bar pick this. I'm going to try with the short hook first. So let's see. So that was like hard, like mid to high tension, leaning closer to high. And this is going to be interesting because I actually have to move around the warding a bit more on this. I just heard a weird sound. FBI, open up! No, okay, so we're in Jersey City, which means we live in a major city. So if I all of a sudden go like, ah! And then you hear me like stomping around or running around everywhere, so if you're in a major city, roaches do happen. And I thought I just heard a roach possibly scurry by in the background. So I just want to let you know, if you see this table flying and then me like going around in kill mode while like hard, like heavy metal music plays and then gets replaced with chiptune music because of DMCA stuff, like what happened to Metallica, that's why I'm doing that, because I am in the process of killing a roach. So, welcome to Jersey City. Welcome to city life where everything's made up and the points don't matter. It's like Texans caring about poor people stuck in a blizzard. It doesn't matter. So I should say Texas politicians or elites caring about Texas citizens being stuck in a blizzard. It doesn't matter. So that's why if you see me do that, that's because there is a new roach I have to kill. So I know that's a little gross and TMI, but just let you know, we don't live. There's a little bit more recon doxing thing, but we don't exactly live in the richest area of Jersey City. This is not like, a whole thing here. So just we won't tell you where again, but just let you know, we're just like any other like blue collar type of thing. So occasionally we deal with roaches, and occasionally we deal with roaches, aka, crazy Trump supporters with guns and things like that. So just to let you know, I actually might use the high hook here. because believe it or not, I believe the weird ass little prongs of the quickset warding is throwing me off here. Also, again, I have to refigure out the tension for these pry bars. So here are the pins up here, okay. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this, ironically, with the top of the keyway. Again, well, I'm just experimenting to see what works with what. Because in a moment, I'm going to use that high reach one, see if that helps better. Oh, there we go. Do. Ha! You are already dead. I'm glad that happened off screen. So that's what that weird sound was. R.I.P. Roach. So, what was I getting to? Let's do top of the keyway again, but now we're going to actually use the super long reach thing. I'm probably going to like clip that on Twitch because it's like welcome to like the super gross episode. So let's see if this might work better. So it's a little hard to get past this weird warding here, but I'm going to try. Yeah, there's a weird, it's like stuck in the back. That is so bizarre. Okay, there we go. So my new problem is that I don't quite feel anything and it's still getting stuck. So yeah, I might play around top the keyway later, but let's stick to the bottom of the keyway tension. Now I just want to see if you can rake this open like faster and easier. This will also probably let me know if there's potentially security pins in here. And let's see here. I'm going to start off with the city rake. Again, this will kinetically hit all 5 pins at the same time if I do this right. Let's see how fast or not fast. Sometimes I'll put the city rake in while I'm tensioning and it opens. So hopefully that won't happen here because that would be, I can't wait to show my ex-neighbors this of how fast I pick through these locks because they're probably going to be shitting themselves and be like, oh, thank God we changed the locks and like you picked good locks for us because, you know, if someone had even an ounce of your skill, like, you know, like let's say you folks out there, honestly, I believe if you can pick a master lock number 3 and you had the bottom 10, you would be able to pick these open. This was their front door. So again, they have new locks. Don't try this. If you do, I'm gonna murder you before they do. But yeah, so let's see. So I'm gonna immediately put tension on this. Let's see if I can use the city rake to open this. Oh, it went into a set. So something happened. Maybe there's a spool in here and I don't even notice. All right, we're going to reset. Let's try that again. Because usually the way the city rake works is you rock it up and down, but sometimes you have to do this. Sometimes it's a rocking thing, and sometimes you're not supposed to move this in and out like it's an S rake. But if you do that a little bit, sometimes that helps. Like if you do like 1 or 2 notches. And my main thing here, again, is this is a 5-pinner. And I don't know what the key looks like, so I can't even, like, semi-match. Also, I'm doing medium tension right now. I'm going to try super hard tension and see if that works, just like it did with the picking. All right, so I'm going to do super hard tension. I'm going to do, like, the harder tension here. Here we go. We're going to try different techniques with this city rake here. Or maybe we have to actually do light tension with raking, with this type of raking on this quick set. Who knows? Just got a weird thing. SpaceX launches 60 Starlink satellites, but fails to. All right, so SpaceX apparently failed at something, which means Elon Musk is going to smoke more on Joe Rogan as Joe Rogan tells stupid reasons why he's not taking the vaccine. All right, so that's interesting. Let's try something different. I'm going to do light tension and see if anything affects here. And this is the rocking up and down technique. Because there's so many techniques you can particularly do with the city rake that, you know, you have to experiment a little bit. Okay, so I think I was accidentally over tensioning here, so let's do some light tension. I'm going to try to keep it on. Oh, something moved. I'm going to keep it on light tension, see what happens. Maybe I need the shorter one for this. Who knows? The core did turn. It's the same. I think it's hitting that 1 pin because it's the same thing. Like I hit 1 pin in the back and it like does a full set. and then I do that frontish pin and then back to the middle back, and then it opens. So I know it's 3 pins that open this. So that's interesting. All right, so I'm going to try the wiggle up and down thing. Actually, let me try to do like middle to hard again. See if that affects anything. Okay, so instead of rocking, let's try doing this like up and down toothbrush motion. Again, this is also while raking is faster for me because my hands cramp. It's going to make me cramp even harder. So here we go. So we're going to do medium tension, medium to hard tension like we did with picking. Let's try the up and down. It also could be, again, maybe it's like a lube thing. I don't know. We might try a lube at the very end. To see if we can get this open. So let's see. So that was that. Let's try the light tension and do the up and down wiggle motion. See if that does anything. Can also feel how kind of loose this is. So it was definitely old and cheap. All right, so I'm now going to do a combination of back and forth rocking and moving in and out and see if that does anything. So we're going to do the medium tension again. That didn't work. Because again, I'm probably doing a technique wrong or something. Because I could definitely feel the full set when I was doing the light one and then doing the normal rocking with the full insert in. So let's do light tension and try the combination of all these techniques and see what happens. This is going to cramp. My hands are already like ridiculous. Oh, we got an open. Okay, so I actually had to wiggle back and forth, up and down while I wiggle, and then move back a little bit in and out. So that combination of all of those got the rake open. You saw how fast that was. That was literally, as opposed to single pin picking, or that took like 30 to 40 seconds. That literally took under 3 or 4 seconds. I'm going to now exercise my hands a little bit because they cramped up, and let's see if we can re-replicate with that. And then we're going to try 2 other rakers. And maybe we'll try the S rake with this, and then I promise, then we're going to move on to this guy. And we're probably going to be streaming. Honestly, we might stream all the way to 11, but we're going to find out. And again, thank you for everyone who is watching this, especially since I put this back on the making and crafting. I debated of doing this as a just chatting because I'm literally just chatting, although that's a bigger category. Sometimes we mainly stick to making and crafting on Master of Unlocking, but sometimes, like last time was more like Bluetooth and hacking, so we put it under science and technology. And this time we're back at making. Eventually I might do another just chatting. But regardless, if you like what you see so far and you haven't done so yet, you can hit that bell, click like, share, subscribe on Twitch, Live, or YouTube. And hi everyone out there watching on Diode Zone or through Tor via Invitus, which is having its own weird glitches. Facebook's not currently running because it's Facebook. When you do follow us, or if on any of those platforms, it's completely free. Or if you send us lemons or bits or boogers or whatever, we get, I'm burping a lot. We get notifications. And I cheer you on during it. Helps me remember names. Also, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, or you have questions about lockpicking, or my crazy hair, or my pajama bottoms, or how sexy my ex-neighbors are, and things like that, you can message that in chat. I love talking with people in chat, as you've seen so far. Otherwise, as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. And again, I love doing this type of stuff. Like, you notice we've been doing this more often. This wasn't a thing. We're supposed to be doing more locksmithing stuff, which we'll get into in a moment. This is kind of like locksmithing, but you'll notice we've been doing a lot of, oh, here's a lock. I'm going to explain what I know about it. And then we tackle it, and I've never done it before. And I love doing those. I prefer to do the whole teaching spiel, but I love doing this as like a non-pre-recorded thing because, one, you get to see me make all the mistakes. And two, this shows you how someone who knows how someone actually attacks locks, like the methodology and how people are thinking and approaching, which again, I think there's too little videos and stuff. This is why you normally have like the in-person tool meetings and things at like hacker and infosec conventions like this where you get to sit down and do this, but we can't because of COVID. But that's why we have those sessions, because you have a lot of sessions about, this is this type of lock and this is how you open it or bypass it. And we have a lot of like, let's reveal this tool set, which are all good, but you don't really have here's a lock. Never encountered this. let's try different things. Let's do the scientific method of lockpicking on this. And I think that's really important because that's what most of you folks at home are going to be doing with your lockpick sets and the real life and practice locks that you're going to buy just for lockpicking. Again, the 2 rules. So I think it's really important that occasionally, like you've been seeing in the past couple episodes, we do these locks where I've never done any of these. Like, I've never picked any of these. Again, I had to take these out of the old doors, and now I have them, but I never got to do I never picked these. This is the first time you're seeing me do them, not only because it's a surprise for me and I learned stuff, but also because you get to see my methodology. Again, so far what we've done is I've looked at the lock to see, it says quick set. Now I know what a quick set is. I make sure I know how many pins there are in it by using a flat edge of a tool, doing that lifting thing. And then as you see, I start off with that. And this is my method, but this is how I do it. You use different techniques. And I started with the bomb, the keyway tension, and I single pin picked it. In a real life scenario, I'd probably end up raking it first, but I tried single pin picking it with my go-to, my bomb, the keyway tension, short hook, and notice I tried that. And even when it worked, let's say it didn't, if that didn't work, I would use a different bomb, the keyway tension tool. If that didn't work, I would try the upper pry bars. If that didn't work, put a bomb the keyway and try to rake it open. If that rake didn't work, I'd use another rake. And that's how you go through, and this is how you attack locks. Not a specific lock, locks in general, because that's my goal with teaching people is I want to make sure that people learn how to lock pick, not know how to pick master lock number 3s or how to pick Abus's 40 out of whatever or how to pick open a Medico or whatever. I want people to know how to attack locks. It's the same way of good scientist teachers will teach you a scientific method, or programmers usually first teach how to program, not program in Python 3 or how to program in a Lisp in this data set on this operating system, how to program so that way, like, let's say you know how to program Python 3, and then it's like, okay, major hacking thing, you get $1 billion, here's Ruby. What? You didn't know how to base program, you only learned how to do one certain thing, and that's why all the teaching things that I do, and I believe TOOOL and a bunch of other orgs, we try to teach you how to pick in general, and a lot of it's tools, but it's also methodology. Again, you identify, count, you poke around the insides to see how many pins, see that it's all the gears are working, then attack. And you use different methods, and you go one by one piece. And right now, again, we opened it by single pin picking, and this time raking. So we're just experimenting here, and then we're going to move on to this guy. So I want to see if I can replicate that again. So that was, I believe it was medium to hard tension, and we're going to try like multiple, moving it in and out. See if we can replicate it, because I want to see, because I know it works now. I just want to see if it's replicatable. And by the way, with raking, you don't keep doing that forever. S-rake or whatever. What you do is you do it for a couple of seconds, stop, undo all the tension, reset everything. Then you do it again. You keep repeating that. And then if it doesn't open after like a minute, then you have to either use a different technique or go back or go like single pin picking if you haven't done it or whatever. So I'm going to do that again. So I have a question. I think I said last time when I got this open it was medium to hard tension, but maybe it was light tension and I couldn't remember. We're going to try the 2 different tensions. But now I know I have to use like all 3 techniques at the same time, and there it goes, and it opens. Okay, so it was medium to hard tension. It took a little bit longer, so now that I know that, I'm just going to try it because I'm just curious. It's pure curiosity right now. I'm just going to try this again, so medium to harder side tension. And it seems like because it's the 5-pinner, I have to basically like kind of pull it out a notch for like everything to kinetically hit properly. And again, as someone who I didn't like very much, but this was actually a good thing to say. Remember also lockpicking, it's not an exact science. I mean, there's a lot of math involved and stuff, but this is not like, oh, you do this and that and it equals this with instance results. There's very few of those. Maybe more like simple master locks are like that, but lockpicking in general, like this is more of like scientific research technique sort of thing, and not like a pure math, like 1 + 1 = 2 sort of thing, just to note. Which is exactly why, like, even, like, for example, a lot of professional and expert people at this talk to other expert and professional people, even if they have a theory on how it works. they will ask their colleagues. You know, it's like this is a whole thing here. All right, so we're able to at least do it twice. Wow, my hands are really getting dirty. I just didn't want it to cut my skin. So now I'm just curious, and I'm going to try the double peak, and then I'm going to, with the bottom of the keyway tension, and then I'm going to try that stiletto, because I just want to see what works. I wish I had a triple peak, personally. I could probably borrow one, but I'd rather wait for that set to come out, and plus I don't want to potentially ruin someone else's tools. So this is a double peak. There's 2 peaks on it, and I'm going to try to attack all 5 and see if that works. It'd probably be better if it was a triple peak, but... And I'm actually thinking of going back maybe after the stream and doing the WD-40. Oh, I don't want to stab myself. The WD-40, I could actually feel it go into like a semi-false set here. Because if you can kind of hear it, but you hear how crunchy it is. And you'll also notice that sometimes when I do this, suggestively, my hand kind of gets stuck, like and then I'll do that. I can feel that. You know, again, these were outside actual door locks. These were probably honestly installed either in the 80s or 90s, maybe even the 70s, especially since they're standard quick sets. Maybe they're even more modern than I think, but regardless, this deadbolt has been in use for a while and is old. So so it might actually work better if I use WD-40 and lube this up. But anyhow, so I'm going to stop here because I was just curious. I might be able to get this working with double peak. It'd probably be better with triple peak because, again, my problem with my default double peak is that once you get to 5 or 6 pins, it's really hard to kinetically hit all 5 or 6 pins at the same time. Especially if this was a 6-pin, I'd almost have no chance in hell with this guy. So one of these days I'm going to get a triple peak or a Bogota or what Sparrow sometimes also calls a worm. So I just want to see if this, because this is a wide keyway, as you can see, I could easily fit that in here. On most of my high securities, I cannot fit this in here. I just want to see with either zipping or doing the same technique, the hybrid method or whatever, if that would work. And again, if anyone has any questions about what I'm doing or if I'm talking too fast or you can't hear me or whatever, I'm just glad I remembered to get rid of the desktop audio. Please let me know in chat because, again, I don't know how many people are even watching this. Otherwise, keep looking or keep lurking and keep learning. Also, if you like what you see so far and you haven't, you can click like, share, subscribe, hit that bell and reminder on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. I get notifications for those and share people on. It's also a great way to let you know when the next Master of Unlocking is coming up, especially if you had a busy week and you forgot, or any of our other shows such as Archvile Link's Perspective, which is coming up this Thursday, or my other show, Crypto Barons, comes up this Saturday, as well as some other specials and shows. Okay, so I'm going to do the same type of tension before, and I'm going to do the rake with this. It should be very similar to the double peak, but it has a slightly, like if you look at these side by side, the stiletto and my default double peak, there's a name of a band, default double peak. They have slightly different peak profiles and variations in their wavage and stuff. So it might work better with this, but I just want to see. And if I get a full set, I might be able to then do the hybrid method and single pin pick this up. And so we're going to do the medium to hard tension. By the way, even though I said this when I covered the raking episode, what you want to do here is it's the same frequency. When you do these ones that are in and out, double peaks, triple peaks, S rakes, it's the same frequency and speed and pressure and everything as brushing your teeth. So that's what you want to do here. And again, I think I'm having the same problem that the double peak has. So what I'm going to try this time is I'm actually going to attempt to, oh, I'm an idiot. That was actually the double peak. I actually didn't use the stiletto. See, welcome to mistakes on this show. Let's actually try the stiletto's weird double peak and see if that works better. If not, I'm going to see if I can zip it open using the other side, which is one of the main reasons why I use the stiletto, besides the hybrid picking method. So this actually fits in, and let's see. So yeah, that didn't work. Let's try that again. If not, I'll try a different tension, and then if not, I'll try to zip it open. I don't think you should be able to zip this open, but you know, it's always nice to try because you know I've been wrong many times before. So okay, so let's try zipping it. So it's the other side, stiletto up, lift all the pins. Also do it with the double side later. Can also technically do this with the short hook, but it's, to me, the stiletto does this the best. Okay, I'm now going to try slight pressure and see if we do the same thing again. Also, another thing about these goddamn Chinese giant picks, right, is if you actually look on them, these used to be completely black. There's a little bit of black in the middle, just like the dusting. These also were super hard edged. And another thing is that good lockpicks normally are what are called tumbled, which means that they should not have any hard edges on them and not anything that could cut into your skin. It should have an edge, but it should be smooth. What you do with that is you use sandpaper, and I recommend to do this on most. You have to inspect them first, but on most locks, and again, because of how shitty these were, I actually made them basically usable by using sandpaper. And it's kind of funny because I have this on my shelf. I'll actually grab it in a minute. One technique is what you do is you take sandpaper that's over 800 grit, and sometimes the old method is you put it in a book and you slide in and out. I actually just went, and this is a 1,200, but I got the highest grade sandpaper I could get type, like the high number. In this case, it was 120, 1,200, and I got the sponge. And so I went in and I did the sides, and I folded this in half and did that. And that smoothed it out really quick. So that's what actually makes this usable. I'm just curious to see if this will work, and then if not, we will then use the same methodology, but we'll do the basement door. So let's see. I'm just going to use light tension now, see if I can do that. Because again, I think I more need like what's called a triple peak or a Bogota or a Sparrow's Worm or a strike pick, because it's not really hitting all the keys. So now I'm going to do the same zip method. See if that works. Try that again. Because again, I think because there's some slight high-low bidding in here, I don't think you can zip it open. You can definitely city rake it open as we see before, but yeah, single pin picking and city rake seems to be the best for this. So yeah, just because my hands are cramping up, I'm going to take a short break here, and then we're going to do this lock, and then we're going to go right to stream on Twitch, and we're going to be done with the show. I know it seems long. Let's see, we started at 8, 9, 10, it's almost 11, so we've almost been streaming for like 3 hours now. So again, thank you for everyone who are watching this. If you haven't, or if you want to recommend this to friends, and again, I'm just doing this to get rid of the hand cramps and tension and everything, because otherwise I'll over-tension, which will be bad for the lock of my tools, but it will also super cramp up my hands, and it'll hurt, and I'll have to take like pills, which I already do for this type of stuff. But you can click that bell, hit like, share, subscribe, and reminder on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube, especially if you're on DLive, because again, following us is free. This is not a subscriber thing, not yet at least, and we're probably not going to get there due to stupid contract stuff with live streaming and DMCAs and stuff. But what we are going to do is on DLive, once we reach 100 followers, we qualify for the Crypto Superstar thing, and I'll be able to do a lot more with the channel on DLive, especially with the show Crypto Baron. So that would be very important for us. So thank you, by the way, for everyone who's already subscribed and are watching this. All right, so we're going to try this guy next. Now, the odd thing about this is that basically this was installed, so you had to put the key in sideways. So normally, you know, it's going to be difficult because, for example, I don't think I'll be able to, at the top of the keyway, tension this, or it'll be very hard for me to do so. And that's actually why I would use the longer bit here, because I'd have to do it. Also, it's super, wow, this is actually super wide cut. That's the new thing. So I'd have to do it this way. And to be honest, I actually wonder if I could fit 2 tension tools in here. So we're going to try both of these together. I'm going to see if that works. So we put one in. Oh my God, I might be able to fit in 2 tension tools in here. That's going to be ridiculous. This is a super wide keyway if I could. Okay, almost, you can almost fit 2 of these in here. Wow, that is cut super wide. Jesus, holy Brambosa. Let's try the dog tag. Yeah, a little bit better, but I can actually just use the dog tag without any of the biting here, and it's still on an off angle. That is ridiculous. But let's go back. So we're going to use the thicker, super longer bomb, the keyway tensioner. That might be able to work better for me because I can just do it like that. And we're going to see here. So even before we do that, let's actually use my methodology. So this should be 5 pins, but we're going to count again. So I'm going to use the flat edge, pin side first, push everything up. This is a Schleg, I believe. Yeah, it should be a Schleg, and we're going to pull out and count how many pins. Yep, hold on, let's try that again. Because, again, I might have to WD-40 these. That was 2, 3, 4. So there should be 5, but like 2 of the pins. This is very front loaded. So most of the pins are in the front of the lock, and that's actually making it very tricky to do the counting. Okay, yeah, this makes it very tricky. Hang on. Okay, so all the pins are up now. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 pins. Same as the front door lock, except this was the basement one. So I'm going to do the thicker bottom of the keyway tension wrench, like this. I'm going to start off with light tension. I'm just going to use the basic short hook, despite how wide this keyway is. And we're going to try this and see what happens. Although I should really get more water first, but again, I have to wash my hands because I don't want to contaminate it, and there's really no point of washing my hands twice. Wow. This keyway is actually so large that it's actually tricky to feel what pins are doing what in here. So that's fascinating to note. Working on these front ones. Actually, let's retension that. Yeah, I might actually have to do top of the keyway tension on here, just because this keyway is so incredibly wide. I'm actually going to try that steep hook there. It's actually very hard to feel on anything here. That is just so bizarre. Yeah, this is so wide that the steep hook almost completely fits in here. Jesus Christ. All right, let's try the top of the keyway. I'm actually going to use the dog ear tag for this because it's literally that keyway is that freaking huge. So we're going to do that, and I'm actually going to use this steep hook, and I'm going to try to feel for here. Not steep, yeah, the super long steep hook here. Attempt to try at least. We actually made this keyway so huge that it's actually tricky for me. So huge that it's tricky for me. Yep, there we go. That's the phrase of today. Yeah, I can't feel. This is so bizarre. Okay. I'm gonna try the bottom of the keyway again. I'm gonna try a different field technique for this. Again, normally I wouldn't be holding like this. Normally I'd be like off to the side or whatever. I actually might have to tension it the other way and see if that's even better. Because sometimes that happens, especially if I don't have these like on the doorknob itself. Because it could be a thing that like, I'm having a hard time pushing these up. Let's actually try some light tension first. Yeah, now these are really sticking. And again, I also might have to just spray this with WD-40. Tilt the camera up a little bit more. A little bit more of a crotch shot, but you can see my hands better. Because I usually hug this closer to my body when picking, which is one of the big problems with me trying to stream this. So yeah, we're gonna also, we might have to do a different thing where I might actually have to tension it either an odd way or like essentially like the other opposite way that I'm used to tensioning this in order for it to open. And again, this is my first time encountering this, so I can't even guarantee if I can open this. And ultimately, I might have to actually spray this with WD-40. It's also kind of a little loose in here and find out. All right, so we're actually going to tension it. We're going to put the tension wrench the other way. I'm going to press with my thumb and see if that improves anything. Feels like I could feel this a bit better. Not by much. Okay, that was like light tension. Let's try a way heavier tension on this. I'm having a hard time sticking this tool in here because it's like not exactly like catching the bottom. It's kind of like angled off to the side here. So I might have to top of the keyway tension this. And again, if everyone has any questions or suggestions in chat, please let me know. Otherwise, again, keep lurking and keep learning. All right. I'm about to go to the raking part in a moment, but let's try again that top of the keyway. Actually, I wonder if I can use the bottom of the keyway as essentially a top of the keyway tension wrench, because that would be kind of hilarious. Let's try this. Otherwise, I'm actually going to use the top of the keyway, but it seems like the other direction, at least the way I'm currently holding this lock, might actually be better for this. Alright, before I break tools, let's try top of the keyway again, but let's try it in the opposite direction. So we're actually getting some lip from this, so that's interesting. I don't know if it's my own technique or if this is just like designed better or it's more crappy or whatever, but I find that interesting that we're actually having more of a problem here. So, oh, hold on. Let's try to get this in right. There we go. There's also something that feels stiff with the springs. Like sometimes again, I feel like something needs like oil. And again, this was the basement one, so this one was like, you know, garage exhaust abandoned and stuff. So I sometimes wonder if like this was about to pop out. I wonder if let's actually try this upside down. If like I actually need to essentially like grease this up in order for it to work. Because that could be it as well. So what I'm going to do next is, well, first, this is a lot heavier to hold, so I'm going to stretch my hands out. We're going to do raking techniques in a moment using the bottom of the keyway as best as we can. And then if not, I'm actually going to bar the WD-40, spray it, and see if that improves anything like it's done. You know, again, we had a box that was one time a wafer lock box that was sitting for a while in one of our members' basements forever. And we also had the club that was actually used on someone's car for many years, and I also had that same, like, I couldn't really feel anything with it. And then when we did WD-40, I was able to single pin or single wafer pick it in seconds, so we might have a similar issue here. So that's actually an interesting thing to know. But let's try different raking techniques and see if we can rake this open as opposed to single pin pick it. Because there's like a weird stiff clickiness in one of the in like one or two of the pins, and again, that making me think that maybe it's probably makes me like go wrong. It makes like I'm gonna be wrong maybe in a moment, but maybe as Pinhead once said from Hellraiser, that just might be that because this was outside a crummy area for so long. I think there's even like weird like animal hair and stuff on the inside of this that might just need a WD-40ing, and then it will be back to like its old lock self again. And apparently, again, the key worked for this, but they never told me if maybe like using the key on this was like a little stiff or whatever. So no idea. I'm also not hearing any pins or anything properly click, so I don't know if like if any of the tensioning or whatever is like helping or what. So no idea. Let's try the vibration technique with this one. Oh. Yeah, I feel like this weird thing in it, so I might, like again, might just be my skill level, and the WD-40 is not going to help. Also, let's try it the other way, see if we get a different result, even though it doesn't really want to do that too well, because it like leans for some reason. I want to see if that happens with the smaller one. Yeah, it happens with the smaller one. It seems just because of the way this keyhole was cut that not fitting in properly. But we are going to try this just to see if it works or not. See if I can even fit this in here. Because there's like a weird stiffness I feel in here, and like that's why I'm wondering if maybe lube would help with this particular lock as opposed to the other lock. Especially since this is the one that like least dirties my hands, and usually that black stuff means that there's a type of lubricant, so this may have run out of lubricant. So that also might be an issue. Let's try using this double peak here. Yeah, it's like I don't feel anything, and I don't hear any of the pins connecting either, so that's odd. Like even this giant one here gets stuck. Alright, so in addition to resting my hands, we're going to try that, and again, I'll be happy that we picked this guy open, but this one, I'm actually going to try, we're going to try the lube. So, let's see here. WD-40. We're going to lube him up. We're going to put some lube and then stick it in and see if it works. Per usual. I also just love that this thing is magnetic. I used to have a super magnet. It's floating around somewhere, except this one doesn't work on that well for some reason. That like it's good to have like a long pointy super magnet hanging around, because basically what you can do with it is at the end of the day when you're doing teaching stuff.
Lube.
Yep, that will allow you to grab everything at the same time. All right, so we're gonna attempt to use this as WD-40. You should be very familiar on the show. A lot of times when we deal with outdoor rugged stuff, we have to put some lube in them. So we're going to try this. And actually, let me scrumple my hands a bit more because I don't want to like try to lightly spray it and then it hits the computer and it fries everything. So we're going to put a little bit of lube in here. We don't need a lot. So put that in there. We're going to let it sink in. Feel everything. Co-Founder is really excited about lube for obvious and not obvious reasons. That should be enough. Worst comes to worst, I might have to do a third one where I really stick it down in there, and we're just gonna let it sink. I'm holding it up this way so that it like goes into like the up into the Bible a bit. Get those pins and stuff in there, because you don't want to overshoot your lube, you know. End up like squirting it onto something or someone that didn't consent to have it be squirted on or something. And then off camera here I have some napkins for strategic purposes. And again, who knows, this might not work, but this has worked in the past with stubborn like locks that feel stiff and or have like degraded over time or whatever. So we're gonna try to do this now. I'm gonna put it upside down, let it sort of leak forward a bit so that there's no more like odd excess leaking out of it. Okay, I think we're good. It's also weird because it seems like the core is not completely in there. It kind of like rattles around a bit. So now we're going to attempt to try this again. So once again, we're going to put the bottom of the keyway tension wrench in here. And we're going to go with the short hook and we're going to feel for everything. I will say I immediately feel the pins a lot better. So that's an improvement. Now, if I can actually pick this lock open, no idea yet. Odd part is, once again, I don't hear any of the pins like resetting or anything. I can feel them clicking. Maybe this lock is that fucked? I have no idea. You know something's fucked hard enough when even lube doesn't help. Let's put it that way. Alright. Let's see here if I can hear anything. Let's try. I didn't hear anything reset. Let's try like the most amount of tension I can do without breaking this. And find out. It's just like Pennsylvania in the elections. Fuck around and find out. It seems like when I actually properly reach the pins, I could actually move them up and down easier. But I'm not hearing any. Damn right. I'm not hearing any of the pins connect. I'm actually going to take this out, and I'm actually going to try to move the pins individually up and down. Okay, so they do move up and down, but for some reason they don't like properly connect in. I might have to do like a strong blast of lube in it. But let's try top of the keyway tension. Actually going to use this more curved one and see if we can get any better results here. And hopefully this doesn't go flying into space. I also probably desperately need more like a medium hook or something. Because I really only have a short hook and a super high hook. I don't have like a medium hook or a hook to a point or an offset hybrid or anything like that. But that's like the odd thing about this is that I don't hear... I'm going to try bending it the other way and moving the pins. Because even if I don't have it right and I'm just moving the pins, I should hear all the pins click back and reset, and yet I don't. So either this is that stiff, or I'm now actually wondering if like I need to actually fully install this or put this in one of the bolt covers in order for it to properly work. Like it might be like an internal mechanism or something. I'm not exactly sure. Because the whole thing is this should rotate regardless if I... Or, you know what it might be? I actually... You know what? I'm going to go off camera a bit because I have another one of these but with the key. And I want to actually try something here. Because that might let me know if this is a thing or not. Okay, because I'm thinking here that maybe it's if you move the handle a lot, like if you're moving it one direction while using the key, that it might not work. Oh, you know what might be the other? Ah, that's why it's probably not going. I'm going to try a slightly different technique. I forgot about that. Let me actually double check on this one. I know you can't see anything off screen right now, but I will explain it in a moment. So this, I forgot. These are handle ones. Okay, so remember I talked about you need to know which way the bolt's facing? So I forgot about this. I probably do have to tension it counterclockwise because this has two settings on it. There's one to lock it and one to open it. So I actually have to probably turn it counterclockwise in order for it to open. So I probably am tensioning it wrong, which means I'm actually going to attempt to... It's going to be odd looking, but let's try it this way. See if anything happens, or at least I hear the pins reset. This keyway is so fucking wide. It's another problem. This keyway is literally so wide that it's like throwing everything I do off. Oh. Let's actually try with the pry bar. So yeah, you actually have to turn it counterclockwise because otherwise it's just going to be in locking mode. Even though I should be able to twist it either way. Because it's like a wafer lock almost, but it's not wafers if I understand this correctly. Where wafer locks usually have like you have to like pick it open and then pick it close. Well, with these, well, this is odd. Now I'm having a hard time fitting it in here. Ah, that's because of the angle. So I will top the keyway tension this. There's a way, there's like there's one, when you turn it right, it locks the lock. When you turn it left, it opens the lock. And again, it's odd because I don't really know. I might actually have to pick this upside down, like Euro style, because I honestly don't quite know. Probably making my mentor cringe here because I honestly have no way, unless this was on the doorknob itself, of how to tension this. That's the odd thing still. I should hear the pins like moving and like I should hear them reset, but I don't hear them resetting. Remember, I don't have the key for this. So I'm like kind of confused on like what's going on here. I'm going to try this again because if this was the door, actually, let's try this. Stick it top of the keyway. But let's try it like that. And I'm going to use this super steep hook and see if we can get anything done here. And then we're going to try, I might do one more blast of lube, and then we're going to try to rake this guy open. Let's see if that does anything. But yeah, that's weird. I don't even hear like the pins fall back down. That's what's really confusing me. So we might not get this open tonight, but I'm going to actually put this in here fully and do like an actual blast. So here we go. Here we go. A little bit of a flick. We're going to let that seep down in there. That should hit the full length of the locker, at least the back of it. You know, hit him right in the back of the throat right there. Because that's why I find it so odd, is if you heard the other one, every time I would release tension, you would hear it. There's like this weird black stuff leaking out too. That's odd. You would hear like, I'm actually going to try the length of this bottom of the keyway tension tool. I'm just going to stick that in there. Get that all around in there. You would normally hear the pins fall back down and resetting, but I don't hear. So I'm either doing something wrong or something off is off. Something's off with this lock here. So I have to take tools and disassemble it and see what's going on. But yeah, let's tip to tension it this way now. Let's see if anything changed. Now I hear them fall back down. Fascinating. Just want to see, does it work the same way? Yeah, it does. So you have to actually top of the keyway tension this. This is sometimes where I wish I was left-handed. Because to be honest, this would be way easier for me to do if I was left-handed. I'm actually going to hold it like this. Use like the full leverage here. I think most of it is these back pins. I think. Maybe these also have security pins on them? Not sure. Maybe I'm not like lifting high enough? Who knows? But let's hear something. Yeah, that time it didn't fall again. This is really confusing me. I also wonder if I can core shim this. I doubt it, but that would be really funny if I did. Alright, let's try more raking techniques. Again, we're going to bottom of the keyway tension this as best as we can. Because you don't want to top of the keyway tension these guys. Let's see if any of this works now. Try that city rake again. Yep. See, now it's falling out. Great. All right, can we do it this way? Because this basically what's happening is that there's this huge amount of giveaway at the bottom. So the problem is that it's actually really terrible for, that might actually do it. This is honestly terrible for bottom of the keyway tension if we're tensioning it left. Because, and I'll try it the other way too, but simply because the way it's cut, it's like the bottom part's uneven, so there's a lot more give on its left side than it is its right side. So I'll try it the traditional way like this, but it's actually kind of harder to do. So like we should be able to get it open, but it's not gonna like change the lock or anything. And then it's basically gonna be 11, so I should probably stop the episode there. I kind of almost want the original key for this just to see what the fuck is going on with this guy. Maybe, because sometimes I've had this happen where I can't pick it open, and then I go check it, and I'm like, this is broken. Like this is like the key doesn't work, and this is like basically broken. So we'll see. So the funny thing is, so far, at least with my tool and skill level, it'd be way easier to get through their front door than to get to their basement, which is really kind of like not haha funny, but like ironic in a bad way because you know the basement at their place doesn't really have anything. It's the front door with all their valuables and pets. So I kind of find it hilarious that because of how basically either I'm too low skilled or how shitty the door locks are for the basement, that the basement in terms of trying to pick or rake this open is technically, at least for someone at my skill level, more secure or would be more annoying for me to pick and I'd rather bypass it than the front door. The front door I could probably get into in about like 5, maybe 8 minutes. So I just find that like funny but in a scary way. Now I'm extra happy that I replaced those locks because it's just like this is like unacceptable basically. I actually have this mostly tensioned in here correctly, so maybe it has to be like at that angle. So let's try that city rake again. If anything would have worked on this, it would have definitely been the city rake. In my opinion. Might be wrong with that, but yeah. Also, this is a Schleg, and in my experience, the Schlegs are a lot better at resisting, like overall, just pick and rake resistant. I mean, you can pick them open. I've picked open Schlegs before. Quick sets, as like with the one with the deadbolt, are like absolutely goddamn terrible. Unless you want to do the rekeying system, the secure key or whatever they call it. Wow, this is really dirtying my picks. Never, ever, ever. Yeah, this is actually tensioning properly now. Never, ever use quick sets for like anything. Okay, now I hear it, so it's like I have to basically put it in like this, mid-tension it. I'm going to try light tension now. Okay. Now that I know how to tension it on this side at the bottom of the keyway, I'm actually going to go back to single pin picking it one last time and see if anything helps. And this is really cramping my hand. Cramping my style, bro. Should probably never say that again. If I try to make like gangsta or bro voices, it's always terrible. It's always terrible when I do it. I don't know how people who actually say that shit do it, but then again, I don't live in Hoboken. So yeah, I'll say it's 11 right now, and my hand cramp and everything, but I'm going to admit defeat right now for this, which is hilarious again, because this was the basement. This has like 2 boxes in it, and that's it. This, which we got open, we both picked and raked this open. I might try it again on air. This was their deadbolt, and this is keyed the same way, and I could take it apart on air. I'm still thinking about that in the next couple of seconds, just my hands are all wacky right now. But like, this was their front door. This was the main problem. So now I'm actually happy that not only did I get new locks for them, but locks potentially with way better security and tolerances, because this is honestly unacceptable. Watch as it doesn't actually open for once on here. But this is honestly like unacceptable in terms of like the front door stuff. The fact that we were able to pick and rake this open multiple times was just like insane for me. And I'm probably rushing, my hands are cramping. But yeah, we were able to get this open on air, and this was the front door. This was the door they didn't want for anything, and for whatever reason I have a hard time getting this open. But there you have it. That is, and I really want to take the clip off this guy, and I kind of have the tools for it. I just want to try something real quick. Watch, I'm going to launch this into my eyeballs or something, but I just want to see if I can actually do this. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to risk this on camera. I'm probably going to hurt myself doing that. Let's try the short hook. Oh, that actually fit underneath there, so that's fascinating. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to take, oh, did that do anything? Hold on. I'm probably asking to launch all the springs in my face right now. And also, I don't have like the proper tool to pop this guy open normally. And I don't want to break my picks. I can get it to wiggle around though. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to try one last time. And yeah, I'm not going to pop the clip open. So in a future thing, I might take this apart and see what pins were in it. Maybe there were security pins. I don't know. But basically, to sum it up, I had to replace my neighbor's, my ex-neighbor's doorknobs. They like live down the street from us. I'm obviously not going to say where. I showed you a bit how this construction worked and all the hell I went through, especially with the deadbolt. And we picked the old, ooh, that was a burp. We picked the old quickset deadbolt at the top, the one that took me an hour and a half to replace because of how shitty the door hole was. And we were able to single pin pick and city rake this guy open. The basement door that they were less concerned about for whatever reason, maybe there's a security flaw with my thing, maybe I'm not skilled enough, I don't know what it is, maybe it's a Schlag, maybe it's Maybelline. I wasn't able to get this one open for now. Maybe it's because of all the hand cramps, but we got the front door open because these were keyed the same, and I doubt the bottom doorknob had security pins. That tells me that there was actually way less security on their front door than there was on their unneeded basement door lock. So again, I'm really glad that I was able to go and replace them. Not only because, as a bit of backstory again, one of the two roommates lost their key and their ID, which had their address. So I had to quickly replace it with a temporary lock, and then we bought new real locks, which you're not going to see on air for security reasons. And I installed those in there. I got some of my growing pains, but now I'm extra happy that they have like better, newer locks with better security on them, base security, because like the side one, for whatever reason, couldn't get, but the front door, to me, that was unacceptable. So I'm going to use one of my wet ones here and clean off my hands. We can use the keyboard, and then we're going to go back to face cam tilt up, basically, and that it will be the end of our Master of Unlocking. So once again, even though I'm going to do the spiel again, thank you for everyone, because I don't know how many people are watching, who watched today's episode. Thank you for watching that again. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones. I hope you learned a bunch of stuff today in the way I learned a bunch of stuff tonight. If you like this show and you want to know when the next one is, this show usually happens every first and third Sunday of March. So the easy one to remember for the second show is it's always the Sunday following our meeting. But let me look on here. Our next episode of Master Unlocking will be on the 7th and the 21st. Our next meeting will be on the 19th, just like it was this month, but the next one, so I'll see you again on the 7th. There's also going to be Archvile, let's actually tilt the camera up now so you can see my crazy hair. There I am. There's going to be Archvile Link's perspective this Thursday. There might be something we might be airing on Wednesday. It could be, what do you call it? It could be Hackall and Commander. It could be a new different show. Let me load up our music again. We don't know. And now we're going to look for a new channel in order to raid. So again, before we look at this new channel to raid, if anyone has any questions, actually, let me fix this problem here and get rid of all these guys. There we go. That should speed up the process. If anyone has any questions or comments before I leave, because you won't be able to answer. I won't be able to answer them unless you email me at info@defcon201.org, which is on our website at defcon201.org. I won't be able to answer them until the next episode, which will be March 7th, and I'm going to give everyone a hint of what that episode is in a moment. But right now, we're going to go, and I'm going to try to find a channel to raid. And unfortunately, I think I'm having all the browser issues today. So I'm actually going to, now that my hands are clean, I'm going to grab Where the hell I put it? I know where I put it. Give me one moment. I'm going to go grab my smartphone. And we're going to find it. So while I look, so let me get back over here. So while I look for some channels tonight, again, if you go to our blog, which you can go to our website, defcon201.org, I'm actually going to post the links in chat again. And where are they? Why is everything so slow today? I really need to reboot this computer. Because this is like a muscle workhorse of a computer. So I have no idea. But yeah, just in case you don't see it on our, there we go, on our banner below, that's our website. And if you add info in front of defcon201.org, that is our website. We're also on everywhere, including like Instagram and GitHub, the hostducks.social instance of Mastodon and a bunch of other things. You can either go to a website and find some of those links, or you can go to the link tree we just posted and found out all of that stuff. The reason why we're taking a little bit more time before we go to break is we're trying to find a channel to raid tonight. So let's see if there is anything on worth noting. Otherwise, we'll look and raid a new channel. You can probably see one of my weird bold spots here. Let's see. Searching around. I also really need a bathroom break. Let's find something fun to look at. That's interesting. Okay. All right. We might do that person. I try to keep these raids a surprise. So let's see here. Looking around. What the? Why are you? You're streaming? Why are you streaming? Okay. So I have a choice between two hackers, one who hasn't streamed in 8 million years. You know what? Screw it. If we can raid his stream, we're gonna raid his stream. That's your only hint. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna set the raid up for this, and then before we raid, I'm gonna give everyone a little preview on what and tell this person I say hi. He's kind of like the big boss around here. I'll give you a hint of that for DEFCON 201. Like there's actually people even above us. So go tell him I said hi for this when you go see his channel. But I hope you enjoy the show. I hope we're able to raid this. Otherwise, I'll do my second choice. But before we go, I do want to give you a hint about what we're going to be doing next episode. So as you can see, all this stuff. This was, I mean, I obviously planned to replace my neighbor's doorknobs, but all this crap here was unplanned. As you probably have known for the past couple episodes and just in general, apparently the United States Postal Service has not gotten the memo that they can stop screwing around with the Postal Service because Donald Trump lost the election and we have a new president now. So can we have the old mail system back? Because it was already bad trying to import stuff at customs for the past 4 years, but now everything is like getting anything via customs through China. It's god awful. And so I ordered something basically in the beginning of the month that took 8 million years to get here because of the current state of the Postal Service as well as the giant polar vortex that was going on. But I am going to give you a hint about what we're going to be doing next month. They finally came in. These two boxes. So what are in these two boxes, right? And I'll do this before we go. And you're going to see this again. Well, let's actually open this box. These are both from Sparrows. See, you folks didn't expect we were doing an unboxing. And I unfortunately, God, I opened it at the wrong end. That's why that didn't work. There we go. Just open it on this side. If I can. There we go. You'll notice that all these boxes here are numbered. And that is because you could actually get a bunch of trading lock progressive sets. I don't know why this guy's stuck. From Sparrows. And if you probably saw my cutaway demo locks for security pins, you'll notice that these look very similar. These are also very dirty, so I have to wash my hands again. These are Schlag styled keyways. And what's really neat is that they have this weird like circular key handle here. You can see it's really dirty. Because they put a lot of lube on this. And these are practice ones. The odd part about these practice ones is that instead of tensioning it like I normally do, and these are way easier to hold in your hand like this, I actually find it easier to pick them open by using my thumb and tensioning them in on the other side. I don't know if that's a manufacturing issue or maybe I have to also put lube on these or whatever. But I'll try to show you real quick. So this is a 3-pinner. See if I could do this. Yep, open. And yeah, this is 3 through 5, so 2, 3, 4, and 5 pin Schlage practice locks all here. And so why do I have these? Well, I want to eventually have a set or 2 of these when we go back to in-person demos. But the reason why I picked 4 is because the reason why Sparrows has all of their practice locks in Schlages is so that you can get expansion kits if you want to change out the parts in them. And as I mentioned on the New Year's stream back in January, if I could get this frickin' thing open, because right now it's trying to give me a piss poor headache in opening this now while I'm on camera. There we go. Is I said that I wanted to get these 4 practice locks and then get the Sparrows reload kit, which will allow me to repin all these guys, all 4 of them, to, instead of simple 1 through 5 pinning practice locks, and here's like the pinning tweezers. I'm going to do the unboxing again later on, but you get pins, a ton of pins, and you get 4 Schlage color-coded keys to do intermediary picking, as well as this really awesome, useful Schlage. One side is to open it, and the rest of this is a follow-through, so you can open the core, and 2 really awesome pinning mats. These are mini pinning mats that you can take with you. And again, I'll go through this all detail in next episode on March 7th for the unboxing. And why didn't I do this episode? Why I do the neighbor's locks? Well, 1, I thought the neighbor's locks thing would be cool, but 2, because I'm going to need a bit more time, because I'm going to have to do some making and crafting in order to really complete this set. So now that you have a preview, I'm going to be teaching, I'm going to show you how I spray painted all of these properly, which will be a whole like time-lapse pre-recorded thing because it's going to take a couple of days. And then we're going to do a proper unboxing of the Sparrows reload kit, as well as the how these practice locks works. And what you're going to learn next episode is more locksmithing. You're going to learn how to actually take apart a Schlage lock like this properly without everything fucking up, and then how to repin the lock to a different key. And thus you now know how to not only pin a lock core, but repin a lock from one pin set and one key bidding to another key's bidding of the same type. So now we're going to attempt to raid this channel. Thank you again for watching all of this on DEFCON 201. Again, you could go to the website, defcon201.org, or any of our social media, especially on Twitter at DEFCON201NJ, and DEFCON201 on Instagram and Hostucks and everything like that. Catch us again on Master of Unlocking on the 7th of March, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you at least at Arch Following's Perspective, which is our Co-Founders Joe G.I. Jack's show, starting at 7 p.m. this Thursday, and go see my other show called Crypto Barons at 8 p.m. this Saturday, which will also be cool in itself. And our meeting next month on the 19th. It's a lot, but if you want to know more anyhow, you can just go to our website at defcon201.org. That's it for today. Go say hi to this channel we're about to raid. Hack the planet. Dirty Jersey represent. And I hope to see you on our next episode on the 7th and future episodes on this channel. Peace. Enjoy the outro music.
Give it what you work for.